What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the first Fortnite Champion Series of 2021. We're kicking off things crazier than we ever have in the past. And of course, we're finding ourselves aboard the battle bus for the first time this year, as trios will compete, go head to head for prize money, notoriety, and the Axe of Champions. And at the end of it all, we'll crown new FNCS champions in 7 regions. We hope that you are excited, because we are. And of course, you know I can't do this alone. I need the boys. We've got Reese Hub here, and joining us for the first time over from DreamHack, it's 11-2K. Boys, did we just get the dream team together? Did we just do this?
I think we have. I feel like we've got the dream team pulled together a little bit. I was here last time. I've moved up from the newbie box into the big boy middle box, and I'm more excited than ever to be here with you in Levin.
Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I'll reason with you guys. Look, all these seasons of what's up, Fortnite fam, and I didn't really feel like I was a part of the family. Like, I was on the outside, I was on the sidelines, but I finally feel like I'm here. Like I'm really a part of the Fortnite fam. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, man, we're one big Fortnite family. We all love you, and it is an honor to have you here. Now, guys, we've got a full day lined up of Fortnite. We're going to start things off here in Europe. There'll be a break after that. We're jumping over to NA East, one more break, and then returning back to NA West. It is going to be an insane day of Fortnite. I'll be here with you all day, and we'll be just jumping around with a bunch of different teams throughout the day. So we hope you're as excited as we are. And if you're joining us for Valentine's Day, thanks. We're happy that you're here. We'll be your third wheel. Don't even worry about it. All right, guys. We should talk about the actual tournament, the format, the prizing, all this. And of course, we got Reese up here. He's going to break down the rounds for us. And of course, we're kicking it off in round number 4.
Yeah, so we're currently in round number 4 of the qualifier number 1. So there are 3 qualifiers. This is number 1. The players this week have already been through 3 rounds. So they've toughed it out, performed very, very well through round 1, 2, and 3. And here they are. The top 33 teams from those 3 rounds are into round 4. What they're battling for today is a top 10 slot that takes them through to the semi-finals, which previously was referenced as the Heats. If you're familiar with previous seasons, the top 8s from the Heats won semi-finals will then move on into the finals for a chance to win that FNCS championship if you come first, or just some great prize money overall.
Yeah, and of course, Reese, right, when we come to round 4, things switch up a bit, right? Obviously, these players have been playing throughout the weekend, round 1, 2, and 3. But in round 4, we have a different point format. And the biggest change I think a lot of these pros will be looking for is the fact that there are now 2 points per elimination, right? Obviously, when it comes to placement, 17th place down to 4th place, you get 1 point, right? Incrementally. And once you reach that top 3, you can see the mass amount of placement points you get, right? When you're thinking about like who you're picking, who you think is going to do well, you want to be thinking about these players who are able to just secure top 3 consistently, because so many placement points get handed out at that point in the game.
Yeah, and a big jump up, right? 6 placement points from 4th till 3rd is huge. It's 1 point every other one. So jumping up 6 and then 5 and then 5 again is absolutely insane. And these players are going to have to be incredibly consistent in those top 3 slots if they're going to want to come away with that top 10 overall.
That's right. And the question becomes, what are they playing for? It's not only the Axe of Champions, but here is a prize breakdown for finals. Now, just as a reminder, right now we're in round number 4. We'll see finals about a month from now. So we have plenty of open rounds. We've got 2 more after this, semis, and then we go on over to finals. So a lot of prize money here in Europe for a lot of these players. But, Reese, I feel like for a lot of them, they have their eyes set on the Axe of Champions, being able to hold this for an entire season. And anytime anyone sees it, they say, that is an FNCS champion. That's the only way to hold the Axe.
The only way to really describe it, I would say, is the ultimate flex on every player you see in a tournament and an arena. Like, if you're boxed up, you've been tagged, and you see an opponent get onto your wall, and they're going to start wall replacing it, and they whip out the Axe of Champions, I'm telling you what, I'm leaving. I'm out. I'm gone. I'm conceded that fight. Like, I will try my best, but I'm going to be shaken. I'm going to be shaken in that moment.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, right, just that ultimate flex, like Reese says, all of these guys know each other. They're all somewhat peers, right? And you just want to be known as the alpha amongst everyone else. So definitely fighting for the Axe of Champions.
Absolutely. Now, guys, I wanted to pick your brains a little bit. We're in Chapter 2, Season 5, right? So we're seeing a lot of new things. NPCs, gold, new mythic items, the lever action shotgun. There's so many new items available in the loot pool, and a lot of, I would say, self-expression on the table for a lot of these trios. What are you guys excited to see as we prepare for the competition? What do you think, Reese?
I gotta say, honestly, how these players are going to be utilizing the gold bars, right? We saw this week that the Storm Scout Sniper was in the game and has ended up being removed. So Storm Scout Sniper is no longer in play for an exotic weapon, but there are still tons of other exotic weapons in the game. And I really want to see if there's any kind of sleeper strats that these teams have, right? That we don't quite yet know about to get these exotics and actually end up using them in the game, because the biggest one was that Storm Scout Sniper, and now it is not in the competitive playlist. So surely some of these teams have some really interesting strategies that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Reese. You know, when I look at this season, right, the beauty of Fortnite in all seasons is just, you know, the way things change up, right? Players having to adapt to new loopholes and things being removed, things being added. Obviously, comparing last trio season to this, right, I think the biggest thing most players will talk about is the fact of there's a lack of shockwaves, right? There's a lack of the Rift Fish, which was in the game, which isn't, you know, available in comp anymore. And I think the players were able to adapt to being able to figure out how to rotate to the next zone effectively, right? How are we conserving our mats, right? Because, you know, movement allows for you to save so many materials. Now you might not have as much leeway that way. So who can conserve their mats the best, right? Who are the ultimately the smarter players, right? Mechanics are a beautiful thing, but if you can, you know, use your brain and pair that together, you know, you find the ultimate champion.
Yeah, man, Fortnite's a resource hoarding game, a resource management game at its core, right? You have to understand, like, do I use these shots now and try to pick up that elimination, or do I save them? I only have 30. What am I supposed to do? Right. And that's what we're going to be kind of tracking over these next 5 weeks of competition, right? Is like which trios are coming out, which ones are showing up the right ways, which ones are making mistakes, and what they can do to improve. There's so much that we have to talk about. Now, to shift gears a little bit, once again, we want to talk about these other regions that are kind of already wrapping up their day. Asia has already concluded their matches, so we can kind of use that to inform what's going to happen here. We'll have to see what these points could look like here in Europe.
Yeah, and if we look over, we've got our top 5. Remember, the top 10 have qualified through, and in our kind of first place slot, we had Kriz, Wildhawk, and Rimmer. 2 victory royales across the 6 games, so an incredibly consistent performance. And they weren't only consistent in this round 4. They ended up coming 3rd, 2nd, and 2nd in round 1, 2, and 3, and now placing 1st in round 4. So these guys have had an incredible weekend, and it's going to be tough to say that any other trio is looking stronger than these guys in the Asian region right now.
Yeah, definitely, right? Obviously, there are 3 qualifying weeks, and so being able to squeeze your way in on that first week, you know, just gives so much confidence, right? You're able to sit back and relax and just watch the rest of the competition try and make their way through. Taking a look at the second page, though, right? You know, you have some top names from the Asian region all competing, and once again, like, they're all just going to be incredibly happy that now they're able to sort of just sit back, watch everybody else try qualify their way through and battle it out in the semi-finals.
That's correct. And, you know, if we move on to our OCE region as well, which we had broadcasted by the OA, we see in first place, Sorif, Pengy, and Stinkfishy, again, with another similar 2 victory royales. So in these 2 regions right now, they're kind of being dominated in terms of victory royales and points, with a 21-point lead ahead of Will, Ronan, and Eshes, who is in 2nd place with 140. So really, really big performance from them as well.
Yeah, huge stuff, right? Winning 2 out of the 6 possible games is insane. Looking over at this second page, though, right, you have some, you know, top players within the OCE region, just outside the top 10, though, right? Some players who are considered some of the best, right? The likes of, you know, Worthy, right? People like Worthy, Jinx, Alec, who just weren't able to make it in this week. You know, they're top names who are going to have to try fight their way back through round 1, round 2, round 3, and round 4 to try and make their way in. Because, you know, the heats without them, the semi-finals without them, it'd be a shame to not see them there.
Definitely, and it's tough coming kind of, they placed 12th actually, and you know, they are extremely consistent trio on the region. Just 2 points shy must have been tough, but I did hear that kind of Jinx was having, I think, some internet issues at the same time, so it's a shame for him, but there's 2 more weeks of qualifiers left, and I'm sure they will absolutely nail that top 10.
Absolutely. I'm not even worried about it. Now, guys, continue the talk of trios. We've made predictions, and if you've been following the Fortnite Champion Series, you know Reese is very good at this. But Levin, why don't you start us off with your picks?
Well, yeah, when you look at Europe, right, you're thinking about who are these players who are just going to be able to consistently get you, you know, top 3 placements, right? People who are going to be able to pick up those extra placement points. And Marine, Jasper, and Lanouf just do it for me, right? Hunter's Haven, they've figured out their drop spot, uncontested. They have a Storm Surge plan. When I spoke to Marine this morning, right, he said these guys are incredibly confident, right? They're feeling themselves. They know what they have to do to come out on top. And I'm 100% confident that they will qualify their way through today.
you can't be 100% confident, because I am actually 100% confident in my prediction of Andalex, Snazy, and X-Squeeze. These guys have been performing incredibly consistently throughout the kind of qualifiers that we've seen so far, and they just must be one of the strongest teams coming in. Last season, without Snazy, they actually had Janice instead, so it was Andalex, Janice, and X-Squeeze. They ended up coming second overall, and these guys have an uncontested drop spot. We think of Kai Corner. We'll see once we get into that first game, and these guys know how to play it. They've been performing extremely well, like I've already mentioned, and how could I not pick them?
Yeah, when you take a look though, Shia Wager, the amazing caster, right? He has decided to go with Kindle, Desitos, and Wakey. An amazing pick, really. When you look at these guys, some of the best names in EU, veteran players who are landing over towards Coral Castle, they're bound to have a great day, uncontested there. And so, great picks all around from Shia.
Yeah, and from Sancho, he's picked Vidil, Noah Riley, and Rezon, and it wouldn't be a predictions if these guys' names weren't in it. They are the most aggressive, the best fighters on EU, and let's be real, potentially in any region right now. They are incredibly aggressive and incredibly synced at the same time. So Sancho picking these guys, you know what? I'm gonna give him that they'll be second and my team will be first.
Oh, wow. These are big words, but Reese is pretty good at this, so we'll have to see. I don't know. It could go any way. It just depends on the trios, what they're looking at on the day of Fortnite. There's a lot to keep track of, and there's a lot that we will be diving into here on the Analyst Desk, breaking things down for you. So if you're new to Fortnite, don't worry. We've got you covered. I'll make it easy for you to understand, and for you high-level people, don't worry. These guys will break that down as well. But of course, it's time. The battle bus is ready to go, and we've got to send it over to our casters. It's Shia Wager and Sancho West. Sancho, SW? I don't know. You what, you guys, why don't you say hello? Pick a name for yourself.
The competition has changed in Europe. In general, trios split apart, playing with their friends and enemies. But now things are settling down and staying the same, as are your casters for the whole European region. Shia Wager and Sancho West on the mic. Sancho, how are you feeling today?
I am feeling great. It is Valentine's Day here, and it is prime time in the EU part of the world, and we're all gathered here today to figure out who's going to be the first 10 into the semifinal stage for the FNCS Season 5. Let's go, Shia. Let's get it.
It all starts here. The first round 4 to watch. The top 10 is what we're focusing on, but there's many different stories coming into today, Sancho.
So many.
Some people who are up high off the hot takes, looking at, people like Andalex looking to hold their spot up top. But this trio we're watching right now, all the way down on the south side of the map, Juker, Plains, and Tarper God, we're coming in close to 33rd in the qualification for today. So they're looking to come from the outside in. Right now, though, Savage, iDrop, and Tayson, they're looking strong, but have a huge 6 fights ahead of them at Salty Towers.
This is going to be the showcase kind of POI, and we have so many here for you folks to kind of highlight. This is going to be the one at Salty Towers that we've been seeing so many high-profile names drop here in Salty Towers. So now it's up to Bad Sniper to slow down Mr. Savage and Tayson. Now you see Tayson sitting up very high here, looking out, being that scout, holding Tripper Rat in his line here. But you're already seeing Bad Sniper taking some hits, and iDrop. Now Tripper is getting bopped. But here, another showcase, and we're going to go ahead and kind of jump across all the way across the island to see this big-time showcase at Steamy Stacks, Sayo.
Yeah, this Steamy Stacks matchup is actually so much hotter than before. And Dreadit here, as per usual, Ref Squad right beside him, Scram down at the moment, but up against AR Baffo, who's down at the moment, and passive as clutch.
And every time you got to pay attention here, folks. These drop spot battles are going to matter so much so going forward, as Andretta confirms Baffled. These are the kind of engagements that you want to keep an eye on as much as possible, because this is going to set the course for the rest of the ride here. Again, we have 6 games, and already it's going to be a tit for tat right now, as Refsguard now has to Void. Passive and Void are going to have Refsguards on the run. It is a huge advantage. It's a 2v1.
And we saw a lot of this happen yesterday with Void and Passive. These guys are coming in 3 wins off of round number 3, second place overall. They knew how to kind of condition Steamy Stacks, bait people in first, usually to the central building, and take 1 or 2 people out before confirming those eliminations. Honestly, the most strong, or one of the most strong trios here playing today, the most wins from before, and wins matter so much today, Sancho, as well. I see them, if they end up winning Steamy Stacks game 1, to continue from game 2 and onwards as well.
And it's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to keep an eye on for the rest of the way. And you at home have to keep an eye on as well to see how is Refsguard and Indreda and Scram are going to come back here in match 2. At the same time, these two have been battling throughout the entire season. They know each other like the back of their hand. And that's what we're talking about when it comes to EU region. You already talked about it, Shayo, at the opening of the match 1, how so many teammates are kind of mixed and matching. We have little hodgepodges here and there. I mean, you mentioned that we have duos kind of pairing up with new trio mates all of a sudden. That's what's really exciting.
At the same time, it's kind of like staying consistent for a lot of the trios that we're used to watching. People like Nikov, Blaster, and Alpha on your screen. We have Miro and Swag still playing together as well. With Snap, it's just really nice to see some of the same things we watched before that reign true, like a low ground trio that does really well, still playing with each other again and making sure that there is still some consistency in the region. I'm excited to see how these guys do today. A little bit of a middle of the pack in round 3 yesterday, but it's to be expected when you're trying to keep things consistent. You're just trying to fly by. Today's the day to pop off, though, and get that top 10.
And you talk about consistency in trio, Analyx, Snazzy, and Squeeze. Is Snazzy going to be that new member there as we're replacing Janice from the past FNCS trios? And we're getting first taste here of some interesting, quests that you're seeing. And Reese kind of talked about the gold and how gold could be a factor and how gold could be a huge kind of, so much things you could do with this currency that has been introduced into competitive. You could upgrade your shotgun weapons. That's going to be huge. You could also find exotics. I already seen some Twitter clips out there in the social sphere of the dub shotgun making some big noise out there. So be interesting to see as we see a snipe comes out from Michael. We did see a stat here that the EU region has the most snipe elims throughout the world, Chayo.
They also have some of the trios that have just control of their spots better than any of the world. Mexi, Virox, and Michael do that at Dirty Docks. You were talking about exotics as well, Sancho. I think they play a big part in those endgame niche box fight moments, but it's control of the map, being able to play for Storm Surge, things that Virox, Michael, and Mexi are so good at doing outside from Dirty Docks on this rotation. You have so many mountains you can exploit, so many mountains you can camp behind as well. They're doing it so well so far, landing tags, and I feel like these guys are going to have a great 6 games today.
And if this is your first time watching competitive, Storm Surge is going to be a huge factor for these trios. That is a huge kind of piece of the puzzle they have to solve. That's going to determine how they're going to rotate, how aggressive they're going to be in the middle game, in the end game, and more importantly, if they're going to survive. Because Storm Surge tags are going to be quite nasty. It hits 25 HP for being the passive player, and that's why you're seeing this utility item of the sniper be such a prominent use in the FNCS competitive scene. Not only does it does massive damage, especially a headshot, but it allows you to go on through. Michael getting that tag right there allows Mexi and his trio mate to kind of rotate easy. Now we've got a nice look here at the new POI, Stealthy Stronghold. You got to watch out because not only it's a new one, but there's a predator running around in this POI.
Yeah,
most likely he's gone, though. Most likely
he's gone for now. But still, they're hunters. They're hunters in the POI still.
Oh, yeah.
With Heatsy, Snagged, and Steelix. These guys coming in 4th place off of yesterday. No wins either, so they're kind of reigning true to what, Reese and Levin are always trying to preach, the analysts of the region, that consistency ends up winning games. You don't always need victory royales. I feel like, though, when coming out of round 4, wins do have to matter somewhat to stay in the top 10. We're actually getting updates from a lot of our top 10 teams from yesterday overall. That first game, Sancho, momentum means so much. If these guys make the right decisions, if they have a good game number 1, it's going to be so much easier for them to control the map in the next few games.
Here is the control of the map that's breaking down right here on this rotation of Virox, Michael, and Mexi running into that Cammy split trio of Browner and that company right then and there. You're going to see a lot of rotations kind of colliding here as they're getting smushed by the safe zone. As you see already, the first zone has been revealed here. And this is the moment here you got to figure out. Checking early engagements is usually not a great idea. So right now, they're just kind of keeping pace, making sure they're keeping an eye on each other. And speaking of a hunter, we have some deadly trios about to be hunted down right now. Steelix is right now the eye of some danger of eye drop, Savage, and Tayson. And this is a trio you don't want to see. What are they doing way over here?
I have no clue, but honestly, camouflage in the jungle actually gets discovered. Now a pinch turns into a crazy messy box fight, and these guys are right in the middle of it.
Here we go. Heatsy now trying to get hold onto the stair. The stair's being held down tight for the moment. No spray tags going through. Now Heatsy and Snagging in a little bit of stalemate, and it's going to be a good old-fashioned storm fight. And this is actually a good place to fight in this storm here, considering that Stealthy Stronghold does have some fishing spots available if things do get drawn out. You don't want to expect it. Now we're going to have a little build-off here, and Tayson and iDrop are going to get snagged, and you see Savage is already kind of put back on the back foot here for a second, having to retreat and heal up, and now he can be up to that 100 HP with no shield, but this is not good if you're Heatsy, snagged, and Steelix, Shiloh. You don't want to see this trio in your POI.
It might actually be good for both trios. Just depends on who wins overall. This is definitely a push for Surge. It's still first zone, so it's not that much damage overall to either trio. Savage did take a big hit, had that med kit to kind of snap back. Now, though, it looks like iDrop, Tayson, and Savage have their classic type of breakdown, chasing a team inside the storm, making sure they can't move without seeing an enemy first. Here's Savage kind of holding the floodgates before Heatsy can really drop out. Running low on mats as well, just 8 left. Looks like the tags are about to come through. Savage, Tayson, and iDrop should be confirming a few shots very soon. There's the first shotgun shot, does not land, but now Tayson's hot on their heels.
Tayson, of course, is now all in full aggressive, and so is Savage here. The pursuit is on, and looks like Steely and Heatsy are going to go ahead and drop down below into those safe catacombs. Yes, here goes. Nice look at here. Agent Jonesy's, of course, set this all up, and we talked about the lore of Fortnite here, and it's going to be the moment of a little safe haven, a moment to breathe here. But you still have these deadly trio hunters knocking on the front door. And we talked about Savage and iDrop. Their duo ship goes for a long way. But Tayson, it's been on a tear here in the EU region. Literally, Shio could go for a back-to-back-to-back FNCS championship. And that in itself is going to be a storyline that we're going to have to keep an eye on throughout the entire FNCS.
Absolutely. We'll see exactly what happens in Salty Stronghold, who makes it out first. Obviously, Tayson has the control over there. On the other side of the map, all the way towards the center, there is a little bit of a battle at the Coliseum / some control for the desert. Might be some oil underneath the dunes we don't know about, but these guys are trying to get rich off those tags. This is Advice, Cubix, and Artor. No eliminations just yet. I think everything's planned for per usual. Sitting right outside the zone, people will have to walk by them at some point. And just like Savage is doing now, they'll get some tags and then move in after the fact. Past that as well, we were watching a bunch of different trios kind of rotate over from those dirty docks. Raze, Frey, and Arion are one of them. I would say a trio that's finally now finding some success playing with teammates. They're kind of a mishmash trio. Arion playing with many different players. Frey as well, back and forth. Now these guys are kind of combined into a trio, have a little bit of a wild card aspect to them in their gameplay. They're going to be rotating right beside, a trio that's nothing like a wild card whatsoever. Andalex, Lazy, and X Squeeze, the top contenders, and honestly, the ones who I would say are a shoo-in for first place today. Two very different types of trios in the center of the map.
And what is different as well is the format, as you see here. Victory Royale is going to be 30 points. Second place is going to be 25 points. Third place will be 20 points. And the elim factor is going to be big. That is 2 points, double the amount than what all these competitors have played with. And now you're going to see a little bit of a traffic jam up ahead. It's multiple trios all converging on the same rotation. The Play Well trio now is turning and burning and stopping this mismatch team that you're talking about of Raze and Frey and Arion. And they're going to have to slow down here. And these are the kind of situations that you're going to have to navigate as much as possible. Right now, we're seeing, look at the inventory, not that great. And this is what happens when you're not having a solid home or a power POI to work with. You literally have a gray lever action shotgun and a gas can. Out goes the gas cans. Can this play happen? A huge explosion, bang, all over the place, and down. What, did Frey survive? Frey may have survived, but Crizzle went down in that battle and Play Well. They're about to be ignited into the flames on this rotation here as we have a battle out here on the Gorgeous Gorge.
Frey was the one to construct this play, but then gets deconstructed completely, dropping down the low, and now a 9-way fight. One trio down, one man in the river. It's going to be so difficult for Arion, Ray, and Frey to reallocate. There we go. They lose that power position up top, have to go all the way down low. This might be really bad for their Surge overall as well. The storm is moving. Them falling low early could actually prove beneficial, but definitely wasn't planned.
I looked at the feed and the deal down, confirmed out. Ooh. That's really big as well. That's my pick. Look, I don't want to mean to put a caster's curse or anything like that, but the deal has literally been one of the top players in the EU region. If you haven't been keeping up with the EU side of things, Vidil has no doubt up in those kind of rankings, and combined with Noah Riley and Reason and reset itself, one of the best fighters, 3 trios in the world, and for them to go down, the deal to go early, hey, that's going to be looking that we're going to look at for like 16th place coming into this round 4, coming on round 3. They only got 2 victory royales, but I'm just quite surprised that the deal went down so early, Shio.
I mean, for them, it's always kind of fast food. They're going in and out. They're straight up just trying to get some type of play done very aggressively. It works or it doesn't. They move on to the next game. Right now, though, it's kind of a thick sandwich overall up inside this kind of this gorge here. We have Vettel, Crizzy, and Stir6 all the way up top, the Playwell trio, and Alex in between, and we know already Frey's on low. Tukes is there as well, rotating up with that sand little bubble, but at the same time, this is just a very messy rotation in general. To be this congested this early, kind of unprecedented from this rotation pathway. At the same time, you'll have to make the perfect play, get into a good position if you want to keep your game on track.
I kind of like that. As you see Vettel and Crizzy and Star6 making this rotation through the Kids Cantina is, yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. Usually they funnel out respectively, they kind of white line it, or they usually do a nice little rotate through the dead side, but they're literally white lining in this weird trajectory. And look at the congestion that we're talking about. You talk about the butter barn, everybody literally is coming on down to the butter barn, baby. It's talking about low prices on thick butter, as you see Star6, Vettel, and Kizzy using their nice sand tunneling to avoid that thickness and get away from that, as you have a nice look at Brown or Yaks and Rabbit. It's just so interesting. These are the type of players, though, Shio, that you're going to be seeing all the time in their rotate, and they know that, and that's why they're going to put Browner here is putting some extreme pressure on Frey, and now they're going to try to get inside of this fortified base as much as possible, but they have to wrap this up quickly, considering that there is a lot of trios who may have eyes and send down beams into this box fight.
At the same time, if they do end up winning the box fight, lots of resources for them to use. Raze, low HP, just recently picked back up. The storm now glazing over their eyes. All they see is blue, but at the same time, feel the red rage of getting pushed inside this fight. Now there's 4 different trios inside that storm. Just segmented. Everyone now falling into the sand. You have to delay a bit before you can move fast. Looks like Yaxo's going to be fine here overall, but with their actions, their push on that pick, they have split 4 different trios apart.
Oh my, that is just going to get messier and messier as it goes forward. Everyone's going to keep trying to get into the safe zone, but every moment they have to breathe, it's not going to be there. As you see teams like Kubix, Arthur, and Advice pushing right into the box with the spray down and getting some nice knocks. Down goes Slove. It's barely up there. His trio mate did go down there, but the pressure is real. It is literally the extreme box dive right here. W key forward strat, and that's going to be able to be converted into not only Siphon and Mats, but 2 points on the board. Already, this trio has racked up 5 elims, 10 points. We're not even close to placements being doled out here, Shio, but the action is still picking up here all around the storm edge.
And literally, it's not stopping. It's the same trio side by side, looking for an update on Miro and Snap. They're here now as well. Literally, everyone is here in this big brawl, and it's still dropping down fast. At the same time, Miro going down to Browner. These guys were in such a good position just moments ago, and after that get pushed. Nothing for them to do there. The Playwell trio as well, back against the wall. Frey survived. Low HP though. This is game number 1, and it is messy from Europe.
Man, we're talking about, I don't know what's the equivalent of the EU side of things for a messy meal. I know in Canada they got poutine. I know here in the States we got sloppy joes. But oh my goodness, this is going to be a very banger and mash type situation. It's all messy all over the place. And this is the battles that we have in the EU. Is Battle here as a solo, trying to hold on as much as possible. Only getting 2 points here for the trio, with Star6 picking that 1 elim, but man, this is all coming down to Salty Towers. Look at it. 4th zone already revealed, dead center Salty Towers. Are we gonna take a flashback into the lore days of Tilted and Salty Springs? Oh my goodness, this is insane.
It's like Salty Towers kind of like engulf the whole map with all these fights we're seeing, just 50-50 every single time. Looks like though from this side of the place, the Oxo is the one still on top, has position, and might have 2 more elims.
And so it's so interesting to see Savage, you know, they rotated out of here. They left so early and pushed all the way to Stealthy Stronghold. If they would have held on tight, granted, Storm Surge tags would have been a big factor. That's why maybe they pushed up there, but they let go of some really strong positioning, because we all know when it gets into that situation, as you see a big fight go down Vettel, the solo ride is over, Shy.
And see, this is what I was about to mention. Even if they left early, coming back, it's still their hometown. They're still paying rent. They have the bills all the way up top. I was going to say they would have position on the north side of zone, but they kind of gave that away to have a higher ground position in general over the entire POI. North is still kind of the dead side, but these guys not only have control of Salty Towers, they've had the most control on the map inside the early game, leaving the POI, dominating everyone up north. They've not let anyone come through right now, and they honestly have the best options for rotation as well to go back up. You see that zone pull towards the north. the top right as well. We'll see exactly how iDrop Taste and the Savage handle it. Many trios on the right side under Storm Surge. That's where you're going to see a lot of aggression happen. These guys choose to go left after seeing the lightning, but at the same time have such a free rotation where they can refarm mats. If there is a trio right now that is in a good position from this rotation, it is Savage, but they have a big challenge ahead, Sancho. You can see there is a trio on height in a full metal base.
Dude, and it looks so scary. It looks like a trapezoid metal base. Look at it. It is Kinzel Waking Deceptos at the very bottom of that structure here, but you're seeing the rotations come out, and now you're seeing what it comes down to, the magic, the beauty, the purity of Fortnite. It is this first rotating circle here in the half in and half out. It's about to happen very soon. Zone 6, 7, 8, 9 are going to be full rotation into the storm. Of course, 9 is going to be the ultimate close. But right now, Taston's going to be closed and knocked down to all fours here for a moment here. Is now Savage and iDrop. You thought it was free for a minute, Shio, but no, not so fast. The rest of the lobby finally shows up, and now Savage is going to have to go solo as well. These are the moments here. As a solo star, you have to hold on tight as much as possible and not get converted into elims. But looks like Savage has decided, oh, he tried. He knew his time was up. The number was called, but they walk away with 8 points in this first match.
A scam order on the rotation marked as free, but they ended up paying a monthly fee. This will just be game number 1 that they lose out on, but I feel like, yes, Sancho, of the points they have, of the pedestal they've made, another chance once again of the control they'll have early game to push forward. At the same time, do you have your sandals next to you or anything?
Yes. I got my sunscreen on, baby. Okay. I got my sandals. I'm ready to go.
I'll tell you why, because although Hen, Janice, and Chapix on height are looking really good, we saw this happen in round 3. Every time sand is in play, these guys are inside those bubbles. They're moving in these dunes left and right and getting sand inside their toes 24/7. These low ground rotates end up being free. No one really ends up shooting off those sand bubbles, and at the same time, these guys save so many mats. So low ground here might actually be the wave.
Low ground may be the wave, but we took a look going north. It's going to go over a divot and through the river. So you're going to have to come out of your hiding spot. And where has this trio been? They came out of nowhere right now. YZip, Lysin, and that co are having at least 5 elims. Of course, Lysin coming from the console track in the EU scene, now making an appearance here at the FNCS. But look at these. Boyer is up as well. Okay. Look at that. Woo. That was fast. he got in, and he's probably the only one left. Moraine, as you see here, trailing the backside. This is the place where you don't want to be, folks. Everyone's trying to get to the front side. That is where you're going to want to be as much as possible, considering those front side players are going to turn and burn. Now you see all the layers are forming here. You see a nice mid-ground tarp happening, but we know that Hen and his trio of Chapix are sitting at height right now, looking pretty, but this is also a dangerous trio. That's the first time we get to see on the broadcast, Shio, of Kinzel, Wakey, and Deceptos.
And they barely even woken up, not even used any shields. The ammo count also looking very good. Obviously got some tags. Wakey picking up an elim as well, getting to this point. Blaster, though, taking out Falconly all the way on low. The fight continues. Snap outside the back also gets dropped down fast. And now Kinzel, Wakey, and Deceptos, you mentioned it, Sancho, have such a good position. Floors as well, right below them for full metal, so they don't have to actually burn that cone just fast. And as the zone moves, they take a huge dip to go through, but in the air for just 2 seconds, Kinzel gets absolutely beamed from what seems like high ground.
You got to be careful when you use the bouncers. Janice, Chapix, and Hen are applying the pressure here. They are going to cash in as much as possible here. You already saw a lot of trios getting a lot of elims in the mid ground, but it's right now it's up to Hen, Chapix, and Janice to get as much elims here on the high ground, because who knows if they're not going to be able to get it again here. You got to cash in, as Hen does pick up a knock. Xweeze does get one on Hellfire, and another one on Void. Now Janice is pretty much just getting all these free dinks, and this opportunity to cash in is real. Look at it. Janice again getting some nice tags here. The high ground is king, and the high ground, this match at least, Shio, may prove to be worth not only the Victory Royale, but a huge point lead in the leaderboard.
Janice, Chapix, and Hen, a game of control and punishment on high ground. For everyone else, it's survival in the barren kind of glow ground of the desert. Nothing to drink, nothing to eat whatsoever. And at the same time, nothing to save yourself from the beams that Janice is dropping down. Also just staying above second height, just very smart at the same time, letting them breathe a little bit and then just firing down on one box so fast. Red Rush can't survive. Everyone now getting pushed down to low. That's where Cubics Raxo are trying to hold their turf down, but it's not possible. The Deceptos and Wakey are down there too. No Kinzel to help them out. A duel situation. It might just be one trio left alive now, Sancho. 5 different teams, 12 different players. We're going down to the last moments of game number 1.
and it's going to go all the way through this little river slot. So that's going to be much more mats being extended here by the low mid ground. The chaos is going to be, oh my goodness, it's going back. So that's going to extend the match just a little bit longer. And that's going to give actually Giannis and Chapix and Hen much more opportunities to get some extra beans, as you see right here. And you're looking at it right now. They actually have the flopper play. So Chapix picking up now, and they send down Chapix. Now Chapix is down there into the muck, racking up elims as well. So this is just a textbook fundamental play. Yes, get to the high ground and just stop them and send beams down and collect yourself a victory royale. Nicely done, gents.
A super strat from high ground and the floppers for insurance, but they didn't even need it. These guys are absolutely perfect, Sancho. That was a sick game.
Very sick game, and wow, what a great start to the FNCS season here. Woo! Man, I'm gonna need a breather here. Shio, you're gonna need a breather. I know we had sandals on. I know we were vibing out here, but let's go ahead and kick it to the analyst desk to break it all down.
My goodness, the hype was there. I don't know what those guys are on, but they're just on something else right now. They're on a different level here for Valentine's Day. Man, what a crazy game. Your FNCS Invitational champion, Giannis, is there. I'm trying to wrap my head around how these guys just took control of this game so early on, and then they just never let it go. You kind of think about all these other trios on these other layers and these other tarps trying to be like, oh yeah, we've got it. No, we're gonna make everyone else play our game. And Giannis is just like, yeah, you think so? Reese, did you think so?
I thought so. I mean, like, at this point, this trio I already knew going in would be very, very strong because Hen and Chapix have really performed already this season in pretty much every mode, solos, duos, and in trios. So far they're playing very, very strong. And obviously adding Janice, that ex-FNCS Invitational solo champion, to the trio was just a recipe for success. They were going to be so good, and they played the meta perfectly. They knew that if they needed to get height and win the game, they needed to be height early to get in that earlier 4th and 5th zones. And then when zones start moving, they just keep going with it, spray down because they're already stacked on mats, ammo, and loot. And there you go, Victory Royale.
Yeah, I think you just see textbook stuff from them, right? Exactly how you expect a top-level team of their caliber to play high ground, right? You see them up there, they're constantly, trying to find angles in the team's second height, trying to squeeze that lobby down, right? You when you're a high ground team, you want to sort of close that gap between you and low ground as much as possible, right? The smaller that gap is, the more uncomfortable everyone is in the lobby, and they do a great job of just applying so much pressure. So many teams are looking to try to take height this season, right? But the teams like Janice, Chapix, and Hen who take it and actually just dominate from it, win games from it, are the ones you're going to see rising up those leaderboards.
Yeah, and what's interesting actually is the fact that as soon as the team's on second height, they just pressure over and over, focus, and they have so much ammo based on their kind of looting paths already that they don't need to worry. They just pressure them. That team says, you know what, I'm not going for it, and I'm away.
Hey, look, I'm curious to see if this trend continues, right? Like, this is just the first week. Don't forget, we have 2 more weeks of open rounds. But if they continue to do this, if they just continue to steal away these games so early on, a lot of these other trios that are trying to break into top 10, they could really have a difficult time. Now, speaking of your top 10, let's take a look at the standings. I want to see how things kind of shook out after that first game. Like, obviously, we saw the Victory Royale come out. We saw them have a ton of eliminations, 26 as a combined trio, okay? So they have an extremely strong lead, 56 points. This is where you want to start. This is how you want to start your first game in the open rounds.
This is absolutely how you want to start your first game. That is actually an incredible performance coming from them, picking up that big Victory Royale. And really, with 13 eliminations, overall getting to 56 points in that first game is crazy. And, if they are able to consistently keep this up throughout the remaining of the games, getting that high early game, we're going to see, like we saw in some of the other regions, multiple Victory Royales taking that first place slot. And some other good teams coming up into that top 5 as well, like Andless, Snazy, and X-Squeeze. My prediction as well, coming up in 4th. And some other OG names like Kinzel, Deceptos, and Wakey as well.
I think we're underselling this, right? We've just seen a 26 Victory Royale. This is round 4 of the FNCS, this isn't an arena game, boys, What's really going on here? I think you look at what these guys have been able to do in this game. Reese is talking about whether they can keep this up. This is absurd, This isn't the kind of thing we'd see or expect to see from an FNCS round 4. So this alone is just an amazing performance. Like you said, Reese, there's so many other top names in this top 5 so far. It's just that first game, right? So we want to hold our horses a bit. You don't want to get too excited, but definitely if these guys are coming out of Craggy Cliffs in form like this, picking up these Victory Royales, if they're able to consistently get height, right, uncontested, they're bound to walk away with things.
Yeah, very, very impressive from them. And, you know, like we're seeing all these teams here, just for some clarification onto that 6th till 10th place, the kids are currently in qualifying is Blaster, Nikov, and Alpha, currently with 18 elimination points. Remember, each elimination is worth 2 points. So there's actually 9 eliminations overall, and that's double points, so up to 18 points there. So really good performances from all of these teams so far in that first game, and we're gonna have to make sure they're still consistent moving on with this, because they're in that slot right now. They need to keep it all the way moving on throughout the games.
Yeah, taking a look here from 11th to 15th, the likes of Downs, ETQ, Pablo Wingo, right? They have Holly Hedges uncontested. What we actually saw, I don't know if it was picked up on a broadcast, but what we actually saw from these guys is, you know, rotating out of Holly straight away, getting into Salty, trying to look for a position center zone. They pulled zone, right? Zone pulled around Salty, and it meant that they were able to get a bunch of Storm Surge tags from it. You know, it didn't materialize into the best of end games from them, right? They'll definitely have some high expectations, but, you know, a decent start. If you're in this range, you know, you're not panicking yet. There's probably some minor errors, minor details that went wrong in that first game. And so, you know, nothing major to be concerned about moving forward.
Yeah, and if we move on to our next page, actually something that I found very, very interesting that we saw a little glimpse of on the broadcast was our team in 17th of Miro, Swag, and Snap. Miro actually managed to get the Nighthawk pistol from his drop spot in Weeping Woods. He managed to get all of the gold bars from there, which I kind of alluded to earlier on, and the Storm Surge tags that he was getting with this were absolutely incredible. It's a kind of night vision gun, so while he was boxed up, he saw a car rotating and hit 5 shots on it in a row for Storm Surge, which was an incredible, really, really incredible to see how much damage they actually got from it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? Seeing some of the teams down there. The big concern that I'd have for some of the teams, right, who are maybe not so far up the leaderboards when it comes to the elimination points and whatnot. Clearly, some of these top teams are coming out firing, right? They want to pick up high elim games, right? We've just seen a 13 elimination victory out, right? Teams like Marion, Jasper, Lanoof, they're top teams, but they're not historically known for going out and picking up the most eliminations. And so if you struggle to have a high placement game, you know, you're going to be a bit worried, right? You're going to start thinking, hey, look, we don't get many eliminations. How can we ensure we're getting those extra placement points towards the end of the games?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we move over into what we're looking at from that early game, we had Savage, iDrop, and Tayson kind of being contested off spawn in Salty Towers here, and they made absolutely short work of the team that was there of Tripper's trio. And really interesting from them, they just completely dominated straight on. They had that loot advantage because they managed to get a larger amount of chests, taking the main building off drop here, and really they just completely collapsed in on Bad Sniper's team and managed to pick up this pretty easy start for them.
Yeah, these guys are in form. And speaking of people in form, take a look at Passive, Void, Io Baffle, right? These guys were on a tear in round 3 yesterday. And ultimately, the battle with Steamy has been an interesting one. Obviously, Scram and Drea Refsguard, one of the top teams coming into FNCS this season. But they just got made, you know, quick work, right? And Drea, you see him going down there to Passive. These guys are in form. I actually want to talk about the teams who aren't contested, right? Reese, you have Verox, Mexi, Michael. Some of their biggest competition, Thomas and Ass and Flick, they're not competing in round 4. They couldn't make it this week. And so it's important these guys have a huge weekend, right? This is their chance to just sneak their way in, uncontested, free of any sort of off-spawn battle. And so they're going to have a big day.
Speaking of big days, guys, today's a big day. And guess what? We're going right back into the action. The bus is already en route to the island, so we're throwing it back over to Shia Wager and I want to call him Shancho already. I've done this to myself. The guys, take it away.
Listen, man, you can combine the names all the ways you want. Shancho Wager, there's Shio West. It's SW squared. You cool with that, Sancho?
Oh, I am vibing with that indeed, Shio.
Okay, let's hit it up. Okay, game number 2 of EU. Game number 1, honestly, for me, Sancho, was strange. I feel like from the desert site, it was highly aggressive. Kind of weird to watch. I'm always used to that game 1 stacker, you know, insane surge all the way around. But like there were so many aggressive pushes to every single box. It was like no one on the north side. Kinzel had like a free game to play basically. It was just not what you really get to see in EU.
And what was also strange as well is the rotations all kind of, it felt like they were white lighting it, but they kind of weren't because they all converged on the same slice of the pie, as I always like to say when it comes to rotate. And that slice of the pie, it got messy and it got very, very chaotic. And that's all the chaos that happened just on the left side of the Colosseum as we see it off in the distance. But we already talked about the split that's going to happen right there in the Steamy stacks already. No shots exchanged. Everything's calm except the Elam feed lighting up just a little bit here, but no kind of craziness that's happening here. And you talked about Kinzel, Deceptos, Wakis. Let's take a look at them. All chilling, all vibing. A lot of calm happening all here, and that little bit of box fighting here happening. We talked about Analyx, Snazzy, and Squeeze. They like to late rotate here out of this rotation at Caddy Corner. So when they rotated late, I don't think they expected so many people to be in their path.
No, honestly, and at the same time, they got to avoid a lot of it. They were a little bit earlier and got to stay ahead of everything. I think like right now we're looking at like the North Pole and South Pole of the map kind of dominating and having the most options possible. So Analyx, Snazy, and Squeeze, it might not be the complete South, but on the bottom right side of the map, they have Caddy Corner completely to themselves. They can have a big split. They can choose to have one player closer to a mountain like Squeeze and take shots. On the north side, we just saw Kinzel all the way over at Coral Castle, undisturbed. They get to push up Ebb and Flow with Sweaty Sands as well. So they have good control over their game too. Everyone in between, Misty Meadows, although it looks like Surgui Boss, Air Trap, and Robab here are both kind of in a spot that's not really disturbed. Right. They don't have as many options, right? You can't go into Misty Meadows. You can't get free loot there. You can't pass by without getting shot. They're more so in a narrow corridor. You're talking about a filled hallway, though. Once again, Salty Towers, another fight, Sancho. It is not stopping the action.
There's nothing like a Salty Towers. Now it's up to Savage again, who is down to 56 HP. Nice tag to kind of slow down the push here. But now it's going to dip into the Chug Splash inventory. No partner in sight. Tayson is just on the other side of this wall here. But Nika, Blaster, and Alpha are putting the brakes, and down goes Savage right then and there with a good blast from the Nikov team. And now Tayson again, as a solo star, has to survive as much as possible. But it could just be a matter of moments as the squeeze is too strong. And Tayson's trio gets converted and gets wiped and gets sent back to the lobby. And that's going to be a lot of time waiting for match 3 for them. But I don't understand what is going on in Salty Towers. I understand it's the center of the map, Shy. I understand it's a great place for Storm Surge, but there's only 2 Slurp trucks there. There is no Legend Nick Mercs fighting there. There's no reason to be there for so many trios.
Only 2 Slurp trucks. It's a big deal to have those 2 Slurp trucks.
I know.
A lot of inventory space. You don't have to use.
I get it.
But it's this one word, right? It's control. It's the option to go north, south, east, or west whenever you want. The option to navigate the zone whichever way you want as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, to go back to previous seasons, it's not like a power POI of Doom's Domain or Stark Industry. And no one's saying that, maybe Salty Towers could... Well, hit me with it.
You know what I mean? Like, is there a complete superpower POI right now? Not totally, really. There's good POIs and strong POIs for certain playstyles, right?
Yes.
Like, that's
Dirty
the big
Dogs.
thing. So
Crazy
if you want to
Clips.
play 100%, but at Craggy and Dirty, you can't really rotate towards the center of the map as fast.
Right.
You can't really push into every single direction you want to, right? Southwest side, you have to do a Dirty Dog rotate. That's troublesome. That's difficult, right? But if you're in Salty Towers, you have the option to push there, push back a little bit. The big thing this game, though, right? This is a huge game of change. Last time we saw Savage win, they pushed north, affected Snagged. Snagged already went down before the game even started, and Savage is not in it anymore at all either. So the people who controlled last game's zone are not here to control it again. We'll have new leaders in the form of Blaster and Nikov, and by watching them for multiple seasons, Sancho, you know they're a more passive trio overall. They don't really get to have the same type of control as Savage and iDrop would. They don't like to have that height super early, more so stay mid and low. So this will be a very, very, very different game. I think people are already learning from their mistakes as well. Miro, Snap, and Swag rotating early into the center. Yaxwell not rotating as quick as before.
And we're talking about that change here in match 2. We have 6 games total to work with. And again, just a reminder for everybody out there, it is 10 spots that are open right now for the semifinals. And hey, at the same time, even though you're on the outside looking in on that top 10, you still could accrue points to get you into the semifinals, to get you invited. And that's what's happening here. This is the basically round 4 of the qualifiers that's happening. We have so much action here for the FNCS. And also later on today, we're going to go for the NA East and NA West is coming up later on today. It's going to be an exciting action all around. If you're a big fan of Fortnite competitive, keep it locked into all the respective channels where you're watching, and especially knocking into that FN competitive Twitter, because you may catch some awesome highlights and maybe some tips for your trio out there, considering you might want to compete. Lots of time to get yourself in, Shio. Lots of time.
Lots and lots for these guys as well in the early game to make some decisions. That zone pulling slightly towards the south side. Always troublesome to see this zone in play. You end up with mountains, rivers, valleys. It's difficult. At the same time, a huge mountain to climb for, I guess, the region now. Past game one, Hen, Janus, and Chapix, 56 points. That is a huge lead on the 37 that Red Rush, Dio, and Exterios have. Looks like they're winning over at Slurpy Swamp as well. They're hard contested in that POI, but looks like, you know, game one went in their favor. Question is, how is game two looking overall for everyone inside the region? Hellfire, Clusia, Boyer also moving around. Boyer, that last game, ended up having to clutch the game out for himself. Looks like everyone's being a little bit more closer to the chest, not as experimental as game number one.
Yeah, it looks like the butterflies all went away, and now it's just all back into understanding what you got to do. This is game two of game six. Boyer understood what he had to do as a solo, just get in as much as possible, was able to get his team to a 13th place finish here. But now we have two next. And this trio kind of applying the pressure here, not letting Andalex's trio leave so free. They understood that they like to leave late, and they're here. And look at this. This is something about this wedge here. So much congestion that's happening early on. And you mentioned where the storm is, the safe zone. It is so far up north for this trio. So it's going to be another messy rotate here. And it's so interesting. Last season, just to kind of bring it into scope here, the last FNCS, there were so many crazy rotations coming out of the Weeping Woods. You have all the teams coming out of Slurpee, Alpines of Weeping, a little bit the Logjam area, even all the way to Rainbow Rentals, if you want to bring up that area, and as well, that little pipeline area. Like, so many trios like to land in Slurpee Swamps, but here in the EU side of things, all that's free. And can that be? I have to bring up Levin 2K, added to the team. Great addition for the E region. He was streaming himself, and he said that a lot of teams are staying away from the West Coast side of things because they do not want to deal with the Deals trio, understanding they'd like to W key. But can that be the reason why there's so much congestion here on the east side of things, Shy?
I just feel like the power from POIs, the way you can play the game, is a lot more free and fluid from the east side of the map. Rotating through Weeping, having to deal with going through Salty Towers instead of having the option to go around it. You don't really have that from the west. On the west side as well, you have to kind of go into full 50-50s. You're looking at it, I mentioned it before, you know, Deals trio versus Nappies. If you're landing Slurpee, you can't really land in the outskirts. You have to control the POI. If you're landing dirty and things are going bad, you could go to the Cami split. You could go to the Gorge, right? You can do many different things, but on the west side of the map, there's just not as many options. So you see people kind of straying away because, yeah, there's some power trios like Vidil there. You do not want to mess with Vidil.
No, you do not want to mess with the deal. And this is what there's so many rotations now because of that are being pushed to the west side of things. And now you're just seeing the congestion. You're seeing the traffic jams that's being caused, the ripple effects of a strong trio out there. And now we're seeing Andretta, Mexi, and Michael here with the great setup here for Storm Surge tags if they want to find any. As you hear the sound, that Storm Surge is getting nearer and nearer. So this is a great opportunity to use that blue antenna there, Shio, to get those tags. Some great looks here, what we've seen, how it all is shaking up here for this side of the safe zone. And they're going to need some tags, 18 below.
These are powerful tags as well. This is Steamy Stacks and Dirty Docks kind of on top of each other. So anyone that's kind of around is, first of all, getting beaten by people who are used to being in this position. And at the same time, are in a lot of trouble because there's not too many mats to refarm over and over in this kind of valley that this river's kind of going through. So you have to be very careful with the position you take. A little bit of an airdrop coming through as well for a team to pick up. And Dretta is down on Surge as well. So at some point, we'll need a few tags. I'm not too worried about it either. These are vital shots for Scram to hit. Not actually hitting in just yet. See what happens though, a little bit of time.
A little bit of time here. As you've seen, Scram's trio wins about 82% of the fights they take at Steamy. But now they're just a little bit outside, and these are critical. Nice tag right there. That's just enough. Gonna get them a little bit closer on that threshold. Now they're 9 below. This threshold is so important here for Storm Surge because this is what they want to keep here. They want this position as much as possible. Storm Surge will push them out, and they will have no choice to take a fight. That percentage is great for that POI drop spot, but when Storm Surge is on your backside, beaming down that 25 HP, and you have to dive into that flopper currency, the percentages change. Now Luna, Jasper, Moraine, it changes so much. Now we're seeing the pick coming down. I think this is Levin's pick right now. Jasper, Moraine, and Lunef. Lunef, old school, coming from the World Cup scene, and Moraine being a no stranger to the championship stage. And Jasper, we kind of talked about this a little bit in our breakdown, Shio. how they had a very bad drop in the FNCS previous trios in Stark Industries. Now they have an opportunity to see what they can do with the uncontested drop, but they just barely get in as Jespay does pay the toll in some HP.
Yeah, these guys are kind of free birds now this season. Last time they were contained by Starks. Now it's like they're also, you know, in Hunter's Haven, kind of surrounded by POIs, but get to choose how to play their early game. Put back in cages, though, off those beams, and now everyone else seems like they're also trapped in a pet shop. So many people just staring in, poking at the glass. Wakey, Deceptos, and Kinzel will be the first to see what pet they want to take home, what Elam points they want to add to their arsenal. It might be ETQ, who's down on Surge. At the same time, the box opens up. The beams are coming through. This is looking really good for Deceptos, Kinzel, and Wakey.
This is nothing but a Storm Surge fight. A lot of the trios here, I took a peek, are just below here, and Wakey, Kinzel, Deceptos are now be able to go over 300 now. Storm Surge is turned off here as it hits the 70. The next time we're going to see is going to be closer around where 50 people come up, and then the 30, and that's the one that's scary the most. We did see it pop up in the previous match here in those rotating zones, but that's why you're seeing these box fighting that's happening here on outer edges. You're seeing people who are desperate. You saw Pablo, he was taking so many hits, and Pablo seems landing all the way at Holly Hedges. So that max pull essentially sent them all the way across Trek, and they were unable to get any valuable storm tags and put them in that bad situation right there, that positioning right there. And as you see, and talk about another bad situation, Scram and Dreda losing Ref's guard. So no doubts, they had to leave that blue antenna. It could have been that situation where they had to go get storm surge tags, and they paid the price in losing their teammate.
It's really different every game, every decision you make for the Surge as well. And yeah, Ref's guard will be down, but at the same time, Card might be underway in tow as well. Not many POIs inside here, so it might just be a two-man operation for Scram and Dreda. Them having the sniper, though, golden charge as well to use. I don't think their game is completely over yet, Sancho. 4 points still. No. I think a pick will come through here, but everything has to happen in mid-game for them. I think for these trios too, an RPG finds its way through the builds, stuck between a rocket and a mountain as well. What a hard situation for Lanouf, Jasper, and Marine to get through. It's not even possible for Lanouf. Oh my goodness.
You were saying free bird, brother. It looks like the music has been stopped right then and there. Lunef now, Moraine goes down, and it's going to be a matter of moments before that trio gets wrapped up. It's all going to be up to Jasper. Now going to have to dip into that big pot for a second here. Just get that 50 shield just for a moment to breathe. Does have some medis, but the lobby focus is real, and the lobby focus could go ahead and eliminate Jasper as he's looking at a weird 50-50. I don't think Putrick as well expected Jasper to be staring at it. Now Jasper is down to 1 HP in the dream, and now the lobby has chosen Jasper to be the next 2-point addition to the leaderboard. But hey, Jasper survives, gets a moment to breathe here. Now he's gonna have to not make any edits, but no, the storm. Oh my goodness. No, sigh of relief for Jasper. He has a moment to breathe and pop that medi. Oh my goodness, Shayo. So much action happening here on Edge Storm Fights. It looks like EU's all about these Edge Storm Fights today.
It's all about getting those tags, but at the same time, you're talking about 1 HP in a dream. This is more so a nightmare. Stuck inside this claustrophobic metal box. Jasper is just in trouble. And we were talking about, you know, their last FNCS, them kind of being dictated by spawn. You know, it doesn't have to be mongrel breathing down your throat this time. It just looks like at the same time now, they are once again in trouble off the start of their games. Nappy, Butrick, and Toos, though, these guys were contesting Dio over at Slurpee to begin with, or were set to. At the same time, Toos down now. They're gonna find a way to get back into this game as well. It's gonna be difficult for these guys. It's a cool thing too. Fun fact: Putrick and Toos, two players who are playing with Kiriachi a lot, who we all know loves to be inside that that Slurpee Swamp action. Now, finally, the teammates who didn't get to play together too much, playing together at the same time with Snappy. And the cool thing about Snappy, you've been listening to the name Snappy, Wakey, Red Rush as well. Kind of a fragmented FNCS legendary prestigious squad, now all playing against each other in this first week as well. None of them on the same team, none of them really in engagements yet with each other either, but that's because they're all on the opposite sides of the map. Snappy now rolling in as well. Putrick down to 1 HP as well. More nightmares along the map. Looks like everyone is just destroyed. We're having issues coming into the map from these outside POIs.
Now here we are taking a nice little look at how everybody's rotating in. Noah Riley and Badil kind of sneaking in here, and Chapix is in this fight. So many big names are all fighting. You're taking a look at your bottom right. No one's sitting at center here of that fourth zone. I know Sundown is probably saying the center is free. Someone take it, please, because that's where Sundown likes to live. But Hen, Janice, and Uguay, aka Chapix, is now living on top of the leaderboard right now. And we've been seeing the FSAS trios, a lot of people here at this moment at that half in and half out, fifth circle, playing for height, investing in for height. And that's why you're seeing so many of these trios right here in this apartment complex, all neighborly at the moment right now. But as soon as you see that fifth zone reveal, if it reveals right here, right now, Michael and his trio have to be careful because there's going to be a play for height, because we all know that there's so many teams like to go aggro. So all eyes here fall on this complexity that may go down, Shayo.
And what an interesting kind of box there in general. Noah, Riley, Vidil kind of split apart one trio inside of the leaders of our region right now after game one. That is Hen, Janice, and Chapix. Right below them, though, the NVD duo still alive, trying to get their game somewhere. But once again, we kind of go with Wakey, Deceptos, and Kinzel. And an update after their POI. They don't really get into many kerfuffles, so to say. Deceptos or Wakey usually have one elimination.
Always dangerous. The bouncer could save you, Mats, but it could cost you your HP. As we're seeing Genzel joining in, as you see Michael. God. Yo, so did someone get bopped with the snipe? But Michael is down. Holy, someone gotta take a look at that as Michael pays a price in that HP. We talked about snipes being real in the EU, and the EU region showing they're not messing around. It's a nice bouncer play here, and Noah Riley getting tagged as much as possible, and then Reason is gone. So it's up to be Noah Riley and Vidil to how to hold on as much as possible here, Shiloh. This rotate's looking dangerous.
It's so difficult. It's like these aircraft like Noah Riley, Rezon, and Vidil are trying to get over this mountain, but there's like a radar all the way up top. Every time they try to bounce her, it's beamed down. There's either rockets, snipers, or shots being taken through, and there's no way these guys can get their wings off the ground. Noah Riley and Vidil are now left over. Once again, the bouncer goes through and tags immediately after the fact. The top side of this map is tracking so well. Not only the way the movement's happening for every single duo or trio down below, but the patterns in which they want to use bouncers, where they want to push forward to. Red Rush taking out Frey as well, somewhere inside all of these different boxes. Now we have duos and trios separated, slashed together at the same time, somewhat segmented as well. Playwall's looking so good though, but it looks like they only have two teammates up right now.
Two teammates up for Stir6 and Vettel right now, trying to roll out as much as possible. You saw the investment on that mountaintop. A lot of teams, and that's the danger side of going for height early, as Kenzen right there at top is sitting really good. If you invest in that half in and half out, you're going to be in shambles the rest of the ride, and that's when you're going to get pushed down to low ground. So we're going to have to keep an eye out for Vettel and Stir6 here. They could survive a dangerous low ground team that like to be there. Now, hey, play well in Stir6 and Vettel. They like to do really well in the low ground, but can they do it as a duo is the question going forward. And they have to answer, how do we get Surge? But I'm confident that this low ground team can. The question is, can they do it without having a full trio?
A little bit of a battle for them as well. On the right side, it's Killzal or Kinzel with a full trio, no teammate down, and a full loadout as well. From the top left side of the map, we see the RPG, I think from Jachino, from YZip, all the way up top. 7th place right now with Lazen and Kaizen. These guys are looking to take away the leading spot from Janice, Chapix, and Hen. These guys are all the way there on the left side of your screen in low ground. Game number 2 might also be a game of duos, so many of them alive. Noah Riley and Vidil are one who have Jachu trapped in the box. That pickaxe can't come through fast enough, and they have to find another way to get towards the storm.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're into the 7th zone right now, and as you're seeing, it's going to be pulling up a little bit of a small mountain towards the bridge, and that's where it's going to be very dangerous. No. Oh, down goes Noah Riley, and out goes that entire trio. As you're seeing, more big names are gonna at the mid ground right now. You're seeing Janice, Chapix here at the very mid ground against Kinzel, Waking Deceptos. That's a great layer battle to see. As you can see, Hen leading the charge, bringing a nice tarp going to the front side of zone, and you have to make sure to be careful at top, because we all know at height does have that RPG, but hello, don't worry about height. Right in the box, Hen gets bopped here, and Janice and Chapix have to ride the rest of the way. It is Deceptos and Wakey getting Chapix.
Every single duo going down, Playwall trying to survive, and meanwhile, the 3 trios who are alive, 2 of them collide. Janice and Chapix now kind of left on their own as Hen goes down. Kinzel is still alive as well. Decepto's behind him. Wakey's still looking healthy. So 2 clear trios, one on height, one all the way on low, trying to control the game and play it for themselves. But only one can win in game number 2. And Dread on the backside as well is trying to come through just as a solo player. Might not be possible. Wise drops down and reconnects. Lyzen and Kaizen look so good right now up on height. Kaizen drops too low. Takes a lot of shots going for Matt. Return onto Andalex. What a good trade on the left side of your screen. He gets that huge pick, but goes down. And now Snazy has heights.
It can happen that fast. If you make a mistake at height, if you use your rockets too early, as Wysit now is paying the price. Let's take a look on your right screen. You got Wakey here in the light low ground tarp. You have Janice here sitting in that same area. The tarps collide, the layers smash, and Janice is here is kind of being on the backside. Gets a knock on your bottom right of your screen against Wakey, but down he goes on Stir6. The Play Well duo still alive, doing well. But now the question is, there's a new member at height. It is Raxo, Paco, sitting pretty at the moment. As you saw already, heights being changed as down goes Deceptos. So it's up to Kenzel, the DreamHack champion, to hold on tight for that trio.
Might be a difficult task against trios and duos who survived thus far. Kenzel down now on low ground, almost drowning. No Mats, can't swim, gets shot down and taken out by Lyzen, a former height contender who's now down in the depths. Queasy Paco are looking to squeeze this game all the way out. 3 different teams left. They're not going to be able to survive. They're getting strangled right now. Stir6 down on low, gets shot away. Lyzen survives, but for how long? Not enough. Paco, Queasy, and Raxo with the passive play and smart rotate get height, Sancho, and win the game.
Height and 6 elims we saw already in the first victory royale. Rack up 13 elims and that victory royale for the team of Chapis' trio. Let's see where that performance there for Paco's trio puts him on the leaderboard. Child, that's only match 2. We got 4 more to go. Let's kick it to the analyst desk to break it all down.
Hey, thank you guys so much. Fantastic cast so far. Guys, what is going on? These games, it's like these trios are just completely different than we're used to seeing. They're all so aggressive. What are you guys observing in these first 2 games?
I mean, players are just fighting more and more often than they would. You know, those elimination points being worth 2 rather than 1 clearly is impacting a little bit more than we'd thought it would in terms of that early and mid game, right? There's thinking maybe we're just going to take more and more fights, get more and more points, get up, maybe make a little bit riskier plays to try and climb that leaderboard a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Shia put it perfectly during the cast, right? You said it's a trio match, but it's a game full of duos. You know, you're seeing the effects, right? The ramifications of all these teams taking these, you know, edge zone mid game fights where, you know, you might win the fight, but one of your teammates gets picked off and it's too late now for you to get a reboot off, right? So we're seeing so many players just going down as a result of it, and it will affect a lot of these teams, right? A lot of the teams who you expect to maybe see a bit higher up, right? They're feeling the effects of not being able to make it through that mid game.
Man, we got to see how this has affected these standings, because if we continue to see this, man, we're just going to see 1-for-1s all over the place. And then, yeah, you're right. We're looking at a duos competition. Now, keep in mind, Hen, Janice, Ugwe, who is Chapix, they are holding strong in first place. They do have that 20-point lead. And we have to keep in mind the eliminations are basically multiplied. You divide them by 2. So right now, they're sitting on 22 eliminations as a trio. It's a pretty good start, right? We still have 4 games to go, but they're holding strong.
They're holding very, very strong, and I'm not really surprised. Like, we already mentioned coming into this how good Hen, Chapix, and Janice are, and they're really just performing. 2 games so far, great performances, including 1 victory royale. And, you know, that game was also won by Queasy, Paco, and Raxo, who ended up taking height kind of in that 7th to 8th zone area. And, you know, they picked up that big victory royale too and moved them all the way up that leaderboard.
Yeah, I think a really interesting dynamic we saw last game, right, is obviously you see Kaizen, Lyzen, and Wyzip up on high ground for a lot of that end game, right? They're the Hydra 16 team. They're the team that has a guaranteed RPG every game. You expect to see them on height. But in the late end game high ground take from Queasy, Paco, and Raxo, right? Exactly what you expect out of any team with Queasy involved, a late high ground take. And it just pays off. They're able to pick up the victory royale. Those 2 teams on fire. Taking a look here, some of the other teams, right? The likes of Mexi, Michael, Verox, they, like I said earlier, they have to have a big tournament in the top 8 now. Can they maintain this, right? Like, the Playwell trios, oh, look at what they're doing. They're in 10th. This is a team who's unfortunately they lost iDrop, right, who was a big part of their team. He's obviously, you know, leveled up to play with Mr. Savage and Tayson, but the Playwell boys, you know, faring well without him.
And the Playboy Boys were actually set up really well in that game. If we were looking back, there was a really east zone and there was a big hill in it as well. And in that 4th and 5th zone, they'd actually claimed the high ground because of the already good position that they put themselves in earlier. So they were sitting on height, but unfortunately, that first moving, the 6th zone was max distance. And this made them have to go down that elevation, rotate a max distance. And, you know, they could have potentially been in a such better spot to get more further placement into that game if they'd pulled that first zone.
So many things going on in this game, gentlemen. I mean, of course, as we kind of round out your 16th through 20th spot, we also kind of got to talk through some of the highlights from this game. And, you know, guys, I'm super concerned. The game right now feels super volatile. It feels like at any moment, this could go really right or this could go really wrong. I'm not used to kind of seeing this crazy, like, hey, we want trios back, but now we're just going to fight literally every moment. Especially when it's super placement heavy. We're seeing a lot less of these teams trying to, like, they're prioritizing that placement a lot less than what I'm used to seeing out of Europe.
Yeah, and I mean, Europe has always been known as a typically aggressive region anyway. Let's be real. And these top-level players that are on every single team here are all top-class fighters, no doubt. Some still slightly edging above the rest, like Noah Riley, Rezon, and Vidil. I'm going to keep name-dropping them when we talk about good fighters. But, you know, these guys aren't the ones that are super pushing as much as we've seen in some of these first 2 games so far. So, yes, people are being extremely aggressive right now for those good, nice elimination points.
Yeah, I think the difficulty a lot of teams are having is rotating in that congested side, right? Because so many teams are taking fights there. But I do actually want to highlight, right? You know, the 2 teams we saw, they're really doing well in that end game. Queasy's team, Lysen's team, they're both teams that land very southwest on a zone that pulled all the way to the northeast of the map. Even with them having to literally travel the whole distance of the map, they were still able to, like, secure a, like, really good end game. And so, you know, teams should be looking at those guys. Like, what are these guys doing to avoid all these mid-game fights? Like, how are these guys getting away so easily? You know, I think that's going to be an interesting thing to note.
I think I've got some answers for you, Levin. I think I've got some answers.
Oh boy.
These guys are very smart rotators, as we know, right? Dead side rotates, they're near the edge of that map and they can rotate round the edge to get onto that east side from the west where they are. But on top of that, a lot of the times you'll see when teams have a max distance zone, they actually struggle a little bit less with Storm Surge. So we'll see some of these teams who are taking fights, potentially because of Storm Surge, potentially because of elimination points, we'll see. You know, they might need it, but these teams who have a further rotate, because they have to travel more, they're going to get into kind of a little bit more interactions with more other teams, which means they get more Storm Surge tags, which means if they take a right path, they'll get a good spot in zone and they won't struggle with Storm Surge.
I sort of want to rewind with both of you guys, right? To the very beginning of the game, right? You have some of the most important Osborne fights that we highlighted going into this, right? Obviously, the fight at Salty Towers between Savage and Trippin's trio, right? That's 1-1 now. You know, Savage's trio went down right off the bat. Same thing we saw at Stealthy Stronghold as well, right? Steelix and his boys, they went down straight away. At what point do you stop contesting this, right? 6 games, it's 1-1 now. If this trend continues, you're just missing out on half the games to potentially accumulate points.
I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah. There's just there's so much that we want to talk about, and there's a lot to unpack here, guys. But you know what time it is. It's time to jump back into the action. We're gonna kick it back over to Shio Wager and Sancho West to take us in. I almost did it a 3rd time, Sancho. I'm sorry. It's gonna keep happening.
Hey, Sancho here to let you know, breaking news, there has been a robbery in Europe in that last game. Heights stolen in the depths of the 9th zone by Raxo, Paco, and Queasy. The question is, can Europe keep it secure? Can they keep their assets in place? Can we have a normal game for once, Sancho? My forecast is saying no.
There's something in the water today in the east side of things. I don't know if Kevin's affecting everybody, but essentially we're having some madness that's happening right now. But hey, we talked about the tightrope dance you do on height and how dangerous he can be. You could slip off just as fast as you held on to it. And that YZIP's team was holding on for so long. We know they had the RPG, and just to take a rewind, as Levin said, is like they used RPG during mid game, and it would have been nice if they held on to it just a little bit longer. I know you want to sneak in an RPG through a build and get yourself a nice elim from a distance into the rocket snipe, but have that ability to use that RPG at height.
Okay. Hey,
you gotta use it.
You have a boomstick, you want to boom, right? That's just, this is what it is. So you gotta keep it contained. You wanna make sure
it's
you
the
have
ace up the sleeve. It's whatever, it's the frosting on the cake. It's whatever metaphor you want to throw at it. They used it too early in my mind right then and there. But hey, 100%. I'm not in their shoes. I'm not walking around with my pickaxe out here. If I was, I'd be a walking 50 pot for somebody. Hey, you could go ahead and take it. I have been on the receiving end of these kind of beams, so no doubt they know better. But hey, we all know how powerful the RPG is, and we all know in other regions as well how powerful that is. But folks, we have a powerful fights all over the maps. And we talked about Puchik just a little bit here, a little bit on they had a bad situation on the rotation. They got caught in that Jaspe situation, but now they're looking to at least win this fight once again.
Snappy versus Red Rush all the way over in Slurpy Swamp, and right now a big dive happening. Snappy on the twos looking for a little bit of action, looking to duo up and try to break into a box. Puchik going all the way down low, looking for some action as well. Straight up next to Dio. No stand available right there, but he gets reversed on. He goes down.
The reverse card of Puchik as he went for the nice little box dive right in, and all of a sudden things are not going well. We have a big battle here down in the basement. No, there is no bicycle down there at all. There's just destruction and chaos. And Zappy, Toos, and Puchik ran on top. They had a little bit of scary moment. It's nothing like scary when you get hit with that reverse card and all of a sudden they come up on top. On top right now, back to this fight is Andretta, Scram, and Revscard, who having a very decent start to their day, sitting in 8th place. Well, we all thought they would be like at least contending in that top 3 already, Shio.
I mean, they've been contested every single game, and it's gone differently every single time as well. Just like in Slurpy. Last game, we didn't see Snappy and Red Rush actually go down and fight straight up to the 50-50. You're talking about walking 50 pots. That's essentially what Red Rush's squad kind of looked like. They're not trying to be as calculated, trying to push in and force either team to kind of show all their cards. So there are some POIs are now kind of losing control, trying to just go for that full fight, maybe biting off a little bit more than they could chew. At the same time, over at Steamy, things are slowing down completely. That gives room for craggy trios. That gives room for a lot of people on the right side of the map to make rotations, get to mountains first. The perspective of Hen over there as well, to some Puchik now, looking to just straight up get whatever they can take with Snappy at Slurpy Swamp. There is another trio also walking in towards the left side. We're talking about, or Levin was talking about, dead side rotates just in general from the south side of the map. Walking up the left side of this map would feel like the best place to be for any trio trying to get towards the spot that Andalex is usually in. Looks like Liza and guys are trying to do that right now, but past that as well, we tuned in for this in game number 1. The story of Juke RR, who kind of came in 32nd, 33rd place overall from round 3 today. Looking for some shots on Kayuji, Wexo, and Sarawet also. They go down, a good pickup for them. I guess around the map, it's a lot slower for this game. When that mid-game happens though, Sancho, you know things are going to pick up.
Yeah, essentially what we're watching here is a lot of the secondary rotations. That's why we saw Hen going to the Fish Island, racking up as many of those fishing spots as much as possible. You saw the YZip team, who's landing in Hydro 16, kind of rotate over into the Slurp factory. Now you're seeing Juker, who is currently sitting into this match in 30th place. So a lot of these scavenger battles you happen, they might break out. As you can see, the inventories are not that powerful, but you see engagements happening where these lone POIs kind of go into the scavenger route. So expect a team like Scram and Dreda, once they wrap this up, to maybe pick a visit to those residentials up north, Child.
Maybe, but when is this going to wrap up? One big story here as well is
we're in it.
It's still here, yeah. Passive, who's on the other trio on towards the low ground, last place overall, last FNCS Grand Finals for Europe. So complete redemption arc for him, but so far today, it's just been trouble inside, you know, the Steamy town in general, because there's no possibility of him getting out for free. There's nowhere around that they can really rotate to. Even players in the center of the map near Salty Towers, near the little bar that has that pancake man, always mancakes. There
Pancake,
we go. Mancake there too. There's fights that are breaking out all the way to there. It doesn't seem like every player has the agency they're looking for today in total. They can't really further their stories inside the early game like they're used to doing in previous FNCSs. It feels like we keep seeing different winners of the spot every single game. I understand we only had 2 so far, but to see Savage go down in game number 2 off spawn is just not usually precedented. We don't usually see it happen this early into the competition.
And what is fascinating as we're watching this box fight right now is Savage, Taste, and iDrop have been all over the map. We saw them in Stealthy Stronghold. Now they're out here at this gas station south of the Coliseum. They are in it. They're here to fight, and they're here to make a lot of noise. And like you mentioned, they went down early. So can this kind of be too risky for them at the moment? Where I feel like right now they're just feeling good and they're trying to experiment as much as possible as Tayson does pick up a knock on Alpha. So now it's a 3v2 situation. The battle is still continuing as Hen Janus is now being contested at by Yaxo. But Hen already wraps up one of the trio mate, and this might be a moment since we do see in the feed that Savage does get Nikov here. 75% of Hen's team elims come after the 5th zone, but he's already getting up to business early. And they get another wipe here at Craig Eclipse, but this fight's still going here, Shio.
Yeah, we're looking at the 25% from their squad, but it looks like all around the map, all the new flame trios, everyone that is used to not really playing with each other on the grand stage just yet, and have started up this season, like Savage, like Hen overall, are finding more success in these early fights. These classical trios per se, like Nikov and Blaster, they're not having much success this game off spawn. So it looks like this is a game of the new flame in a sense. Chapix, Janus, and Hen will also move over, cars in tow, towards the center of the map. They might collide with Savage as well, but I don't think it'll happen just yet.
And Hen has been on the rise lately in the FNCS scene, doing really well in third-party tournaments, has does so much. We haven't even hit this topic yet, though, Shio. We all know, for the people that watch Fortnite, the people that follow it, the EU has been invading so strong into the NA scene, and Hen is one of them. Hen has no fear. Doesn't matter if he's off ping, he is going to fight as much as possible. Very great placements in NA side of the world, but that's what's so fascinating is even in the NA Cash Cups, we've been seeing some high placements from EU teams. So I don't know, man. We always like to have this whole thing about EU on top, NA on top, but EU boys, they're making a lot of noise all over the world.
I mean, Hen in specific, and just this trio, Hen and Chapix also playing a lot of DreamHack duos in general, always just kind of in the top 10. So I feel like, you know, if that's what they're shooting for overall, this is just a qualifier round. They can easily qualify as well this time around. The most recent placement they had in total was second from what we're seeing so far. One of those champion cash ups of recent. Past that though, looking at once again Juke's story.
Oh man,
and on the backside overall, now we have a champion going up against basically, you know, guys who are barely just scraping in. Hopefully their cars don't find the same lanes. Europe can just drive by. But game 3, Sancho, right? This is kind of the game where you've experimented both ways, left and right. So now you can kind of pave your pathway a bit better. You can see how aggression's been treating you. You can understand how passive play has worked out for you maybe in game 2 or game 1. You know, what are some of the options for a lot of these game 3 trios to do in this game?
You're seeing it right here. Taking more risks. I mean, Janus and Chapix and Hen are literally driving out in the open in a car, right? No shots being sent their way. So if there's a difference that we have to talk about as well, to bring up your point, is when you get in these set lobbies, there's going to be points that are going to be starved off from the bottom of the board. And you're not going to get those elims. You're not going to get placements because they're just going to be dominated by the teams that are already accruing them so much. There's only so many points to be dished out here in these set lobbies. And when they're scarce and you're struggling, like you mentioned, if you're doing a scavenger route and you're getting tagged by Storm Surge, if you're one of those teams that have to mix it up, you might make an appearance at Salty Towers. You might make an appearance at one of these power POIs. And it's not because they're trying to slow down their team. They're trying to survive out there on this leaderboard world.
Yeah, I would say risk is definitely something you can experiment with in game number 3. I would also say that speed is something you can finally gauge on how you want to, you know, play the game, how fast you want your rotate to be. Right now, obviously, you pointed out Hen, Janus, and Chapix going straight past this little lake towards the north side. They want to get in fast. Comparatively, we saw them before in game 1, taking things a bit slower. In game 2, taking them superbly fast, moving past every single trio. Now they're kind of in the middle. Paco, Raxo, and Queasy as well. These guys, I think, were taking it slow last game. They're experimenting with speed, kind of getting faster into Sweaty first, taking over the center of the POI. Haven't seen too much from Skyzo other than losing out one fight, so we'll see how they experiment with speed. Play well, though, so far in terms of speed. I've kept a pretty consistent pace. They've been in almost every single endgame, even if there's a duo alive for them, and they've done pretty well.
Yeah, and that pace you talked about, You know, it's been more than 50 minutes of this game, and already there's the same number of teams as we had compared to the last game. It's kind of insane how everything is being pushed. You talked about the pace is being picked up. I think being more comfortable with exactly what you need to do, knowing the game plan, seeing how the X is being executed so strongly, and then you could kind of bring in other ones. Now you're looking at a team, Arion, we saw in the highlight package, it's sniped up from Analyx. You're seeing so much movement that's being introduced. A lot of early and mid-game movement being used by the vehicles has been added into the fray of the FNCS. A lot of people like to talk about the launch pads or the crash pads being vaulted, the shockwaves, but still the vehicles are being a huge factor here. And as you've seen, iDrop and Savage is actually out here. It looks like they were going for a reboot opportunity, and iDrop gets tagged and says, Void says, not so fast. You cannot leave this fight so quickly, my friend, and gets tagged with a big time hit. But it's in these moments is you're just gonna make that other team kind of invest as much as possible in trying to chase you down, and there's no kind of Sam tunneling and iDrop and Tayson are going to look like that to go the rest of the way without Mr. Savage.
Yeah, over there, it's kind of like a success versus prestige story. So Tayson, Savage, iDrop, prestigious players. Everyone knows their prowess. Everyone knows their accomplishments. Overall, their premier. But then at the same time, one of the most successful trios coming in from round 3, Void, Passive, they're Bafo. Just in general, 3 wins overall, the most you can, or the most that were had. They were tied with another team as well, a little bit lower on the leaderboard, but they came second, higher placement, more wins. On paper, look like they're the ones to take away a lot of the competition here today. But once again, we were talking about speed, Sancho. A lot of teams being aggressive so far in this game. This leaves more room up on the map for people to move around. And since there's more room, you can choose not to move around, get close and personal, and have an isolated fight. Right now, 2 trios going at it in Coral Castle. Look at the mini map. There's no one that can stop Noah Riley, Vidil, and Reason right now. That fight will have to be basically dissipated. One trio has to go down, and I've never seen Rezon lose in that situation at all.
And now we're getting some updates here. Chapix leads all players with 10 elims. No doubt that was from that one match being on the high ground, able to cash in as much as possible. But take a look here. We're going to get a sneak peek at this in-game, and it's going to have some aquatic finishes here, and that's going to be a sign for all the in-game leaders to kind of pay attention here. And you saw that big fight happen up north here in Coral Castle, so they're going to kind of walk into this bad situation here. Yeah, you can win that fight, but you're going to be in shambles on your rotate here. And that's why Hen, Janice, and Chapix are set for a prime position close to center here in zone 3. Of course, we have one more centralized zone in zone 4. What? Looks like Snack, Heatsy, Sticks. Did they disengage? They disengaged.
Was this allowed?
All that investment for nada. That means nothing.
I got to tell my mom about this. There's a way to disengage away from Reason, Vidil, and Noah Riley. I literally have not seen many instances of this before. It's just, it's amazing. It's a nice sense of unicorn.
It's the water. The water scares everybody away. They understood, like, once that zone was revealed, Shayo, they said, we can't do this. We can't have this fight, because if they win, they're going to get lobby focus on this rotate. And now Tayson now, oh my goodness, going to go solo as well as much as possible, and gets wrapped up quickly in a nice bow, converted into lobby points. Elim is true, and this is what I'm talking about. Late rotates, as Arion and Raze now is in the late rotate, trying to get in as much as possible, but the lobby's gonna have to make them pay the toll. And now you have multiple trios putting in. You have a high danger trio of Analyx kind of paying in. You have Snazzy's trios kind of coming in. Bafo, Void, Passive trying to get those free tags, and these are valuable storm tags. They're not trying to get Elims per se. It'd be nice to get them, but every tag is important for everyone sending beams this way. And oh my goodness, Arion, I feel sorry for you. Lobby focus is too strong, my friend.
There is a ghostwriter basically for the Song of Sorrow of lobby focus. It's the trio to their right. It's Void, Passive, and AR Bafo, who were the first ones to kind of pressure over iDrop and Savage, force them into a fight with Frey, and now everyone is singing along with them, kind of, and shooting down. Raze goes down. Frey, there's no chance. Yes. What a masterclass. Look at that. They get all the loot from both trios off of that play as well on the reboot van. Absolutely perfect. And past that as well, a good game from Andretta, Revsguard, and Scram. Now the whole trio alive. Get to have a spot that looks like they meant to be in. And on a point update on the leaderboard, looks like that lead is not kind of shortening from first place. This is usually a trio competition where we say every team has a shot, but so far, after the first 2 games, it's a 1 versus 32. That one top trio being Hen, Janice, and Chapix.
And they're looking to add to their lead. They're sitting right on top of that boardwalk, looking their way to kind of cash in as much as possible. maybe collect that $200 bag or euros, because this is the EU side of the world. But this is what I'm saying, like, so you see the zone 4 has been revealed and is actually pulling off the water side, so everyone breathes a sigh of relief. But now you see Noah Riley, Razon, and Vidil coming back into their stomping grounds, because this is where they land. They know exactly where they go. They know what's been looted. They know what they need to do. But look at it right over here, a nice flyover. We're seeing that tower being a huge, keep an eye on that tower, folks. That's dead center right now, the mini map. That's going to be a place that whoever's sitting on top of there right now has a strong ability not only to send beams on these late rotators, as you see Vidil, Noah Riley using that bulwark. See, that's what I'm talking about, that experience, knowing, understanding. They have free natural terrain. But whoever's sitting on top of the tower, it is, is Mirza and his trio mate.
It's a red herring.
Oh,
it's dangerous to be there. It's dangerous though. Like,
it is. It's
the smartest spot to be in is the first place spot on the leaderboard, and we can see them in one of the best spots of the map right now. Janice, Chapix, and Hen kind of invisible. No one kind of around them in boxes whatsoever. No one affecting them at all. On the other side, though, very visible fight. Reza, Noah Riley, and Vidil wanted some type of resolution. Might not be the same trio exactly that they're fighting, Sancho, but they're definitely on their same game plan of getting elims. Never mind, I think they've actually chased down. This is from the other side. Winky got Steelix, Heatsy, and Snag, so there's no escaping from elimination once you touch, I guess, Rezon and Vidil's box. You try to rotate, it's not possible. Now, though, everyone's kind of stuck as the zone moves in.
It's so fascinating to see. It's actually Kinzel coming from Coral Castle here, kind of, you know, they picked poorly when it comes to their positioning, and now they're gonna have to pay for that price for their choice here as much as possible. They have two other trios on the other side next to their walls here. Yes, they avoid Storm Surge, but now they're gonna get lobby focus, and they're extending in a lot of beams their way. You have two different types of pressure coming in. They have the rest card trio coming in from that Storm side, and then you have the rest of the lobby sitting in beams. Now you have another trio that's kind of trying to work their win as much as possible here, Sile. Things are not looking good for Deceptos, Wakey, and Kinzel.
Yeah, this is a perspective of everyone that's really just not in the zone and has a long way to kind of run. I'm not sure if I saw Storm Surge even activate on Rams. Never mind, it's not there. It's on the Playwall trio, and they're trying to peek.
It's trying to
splash at the same time.
Splash it out. When in doubt, splash it out.
They're in a very good position to just get to the next zone anyways. It just sucks right now because inside Sweaty Sands, no one is opening up their box at all. You can just see it. Closed metal walls. There's nowhere for Playwell to look. They are in trouble. At the same time, anyone rotating is going to start getting beamed straight up. Juker's trying to get inside the zone. You saw the perspective of Andretta and Scram and whatnot. They're rotating outside the map, getting in. Juker's trying to find a straight line in. Bold play, I guess, will take a lot of their mats. Harper God goes down as well. That trio's ruined, but because of them making this play, we get to see Andretta, Scram, and Revsguard actually make it in. Hopefully we get to see the trio beside them as well push through as well. That was Kinzel and Wakey. Past that, the #1 trio that you're not going to be seeing on screen for a while, I think, Sancho, but we should be focusing on at some point is Hen, Janice, and Chapix. They're sitting low ground right now, one of the best positions. Yes, Love, Mirza, and Sick have height, but I don't think it'll be there for that long.
And as we're seeing now, Storm is going to get right up to that edge there. You already see a huge investment on the other side of Analix and Snazzy and Squeeze. The investments are real. Let's see who pays off. Let's see who rises through the ranks and maybe shoot themselves up their leaderboard. This is a height versus height battle here, but still pay attention to Wakey, Deceptos, and Kinzel. They're sitting right there just on the mid ground as Passive is getting beamed. Void is getting beamed. Yes, you're saving Matza. I gotta keep saying that, but you gotta be careful here. Chapix picks up Andretta in the feed, but this is what's looking good. Now the rotation is happening here. Now there's a new height that's up for grabs. Who's gonna grab it first? You saw so many people already kind of playing for that. So far, height is free, but Analix, Snazzy, and Squeeze could definitely take it if they like. Sitting right now in front of the zone, looking solid, looking good.
Many loud trios on the left side moving forward, like Andalex taking shots and making sure bouncers don't go off for free. But at the same time, there are some trios staying quiet. You can see Kinzel, Wakey, not making a move, not making any noise. Chapix, Ten, and Janice also go bouncers straight away or just quick jump towards another box. Try to get into a fight, but Head takes a lot of damage.
This tarp investment is insane. They went all the way from the top of the tower, and they are doing as much as can to hold on as much as possible. If they get themselves a refresh, or if anyone challenged Slove's trio at height, they have the opportunity to hold it. But if this storm keeps pushing further and further away from their initial point of hold, Chio, I don't know how long they could hold on, because they basically just went right over. No bouncers, nothing, just old school fashioned tarps.
Old school fashion tarps, but also old school in the fact that they're not pressuring anyone at all. So every trio down below has absolute autonomy to just keep fighting over and over again. There's barely even any pressure from height. That means there's so many more trios alive. That means Storm Surge is ticking right now, right outside Chavix's box. They're looking for that possible trio to try to beam down. But once again, Slove, Sick, and Mirza are so passive on height. This is definitely going to be a low ground difference. Whoever plays low ground the best right now, who has the freedom to fight and take control, will hopefully win this game.
And that is definitely someone you have to look an eye out for, like Hen. Hen's trio is sitting really close to that as some beams come down to Analyx.
My God.
Just doesn't convert as much as possible, as Hen does pick up a Elim on a squeeze. Actually, as Loop Boy Mexi goes down, Hellfire gets a squeeze, and the Andalix actually gets taken out, and Boyer gets taken out. So you're right, Slove, Mirza, you're doing such a great job holding height, but you gotta cash in as much as possible. Convert your hold as much as possible into Elims. Now this is going back. That means anyone that's sitting in the mid ground to low ground is going to be able to go back into their old tarp, and that just means Slove's trio is not going to be able to capitalize on any of those beams.
I like this though. They're using the option of self-destruction for every single trio down below. Yes, they bounce back, but they bounce back through a labyrinth and a maze. Some walls might lead you into a different trio's box.
Dangerous.
We're seeing pickups over and over again. We're seeing some claustrophobia down on the low ground too. There are trios sharing one box. That is so difficult to operate from. Sick and Mirza are on vacation on high ground. They're in first class sitting in the air. They don't have to do anything and have so many mats right now. Hard materials between them and low ground as well. This is just a perfect passive play. They don't have to do anything but shoot anyone that peeks their head up. Vidil tried, he got beamed. Michael tried, he got beamed as well. And now it's all just up to these mid-ground trios to try to make the game a little bit longer for themselves.
We took a look at height and how chill vibes it is, but look at the chaos right here. Chapix is leading the tarp, and they're looking as much as possible, looking for people at their feet, looking for opportunities to edit, looking for conversions as much as possible, because they're looking for good. They have them mat lead. They're doing good. They got 6 elims in this match, and it's because they're playing this mid tarp so beautifully as much as possible. Now we have a nice blocks here. We have Slove sitting at height. We have Lunev's trio as well, sitting second from height, looking just for that opportunities to maybe overtake height. But I don't know, man. You're going to be pushed right down into this deadly trio that's been cooking as much as possible of Hen, Chapix, and Yanis. Look at it. They're right below Moraine's trio. And if that height trio pushes Moraine just one layer down, folks, we're going to talk about a huge collision and some big-time names going down to the buzzsaw of Janice, Chapix, and Hen.
It's the final squeeze. These trios are running out of breath. They're trying to dip their heads above water, but it's not possible. There goes Chapix. Down on the top right, Leduc there on the trade as well. Slove up top is just watching this action go down, but they finally break it through and try to see if they can get their first-hand experience of getting some fights down below and getting some elims. It's messy. It's complete destruction and chaos. You can't even see what's going on, but Jasmine and Moran are trying to stay alive. Slove, 4 HP goes down. Wyzip gets 2 confirmation frags and now has the refresh. Miro versus Wyzip on a heal off. He doesn't find floppers yet. Might be a surface to take there. Miro is looking and wins the game.
Wow, Miro, Snap, and Swag actually got 6 elims as well, and they were able to cash in. And with this new format as well, Shio, hey, getting that first, second, and third placement, you just get bumped up in placement points, brother.
They had elims too. That was a game that had too much going on in that 9th zone. Height just let every Fortnite player play Fortnite, so a lot to break down. Zeke, Levin, and Reese, I feel sorry for you guys. You have a lot to break through.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, okay, this is something we were talking about just a moment ago on the side here. Is like, there's so much to unpack. There has been so much to unpack since the first game kicked off. Guys, there's aggressive players. Hen is rolling around, possibly being one of the best players ever statistically, which Levin's going to touch on in just a second. There's high ground that just seems to be dominating once again. What are you guys observing?
Honestly, everything is madness at this point, but you know, from what we've just watched through, there is a ton going on in terms of high ground. You know, consistently what we saw was team taking high ground. Like earlier on, we actually saw Hen's team take it in kind of a second and third zone. They'd kind of boxed up there, but they didn't get that little good zone RNG, so that ended up going over to Mirza's team, who had already based up on top of Sweaty Sands on the hotel, and they managed literally to keep that from third zone all the way through to the end game until they kind of dropped down, let's say maybe a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think like you said, there's so much to like focus on, right? That like if we are to harping in on a few things, like a few minor things, paying attention to Hen, Chapix, and Janice, man, they are just like on a different level, clearly, right? Not able to squeeze their way into that top 3, right? But another really good game, right? Making it very deep into that game. I think they took a long time. Hen and Chapix, they took a long time to find a third, right? They couldn't find a third for seemingly forever, it felt like, right? Finally picking up Janice, who wasn't even the main tar part in his trio with Andalex, right? Andalex had sort of that responsibility, but coming into this trio, right? Janice taking up that tar pin responsibility, allowing Hen and Chapix to sit back at the top and pick up a limb after a limb after a limb, and it's showing on the leaderboards right now. They're in first place.
It's absolutely showing on the leaderboards. First place with that victory royale from game 1, and still, look how far ahead they are on eliminations. They have 28 eliminations, and no one is even into that 20s at this point, which is incredibly consistent. But moving on to the next page, we've got 6th down till 10th. These people still within qualification range right there. We have great teams that we've already looked at. A little bit of Passive, Void, and IR who are going off spawn in Steamy Stacks right now, kind of battling it out. They're kind of losing some, winning some. So clearly they're just on that threshold right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these teams sort of shake things up going forward, right? Obviously, here on the final page, on the final page, 2 teams you would not expect to see here. Vidil, O'Reilly, and Reason, iDrop, Tayson, and Mr. Savage, arguably 2 of the best teams coming into the tournament, struggling here, seemingly. Similar thing with Sky, Falcony, and Robabs, right? These guys have Misty Meadows uncontested, and you definitely expect them to be doing far better. And so, you know, in these next couple games, can they sort of pick things up, right? You're not done yet, right? Like, if you're not doing too well now, it's not completely over, but you do still have to sort of pick up the pace a bit.
Speaking of picking up the pace, guys, we need to pick up the pace. The storm is coming in and we are not in the safe zone. So Fortnite fam, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a break, but don't get too far, because when we return, we've got 3 more games of Fortnite on deck. So till then, we're going to go get safe, and we'll see you guys in just a little bit. Okay, we got to go, guys. Bye. Okay, we're safe. We've made it inside the center circle. We're good. And we've got more Fortnite action. We got Shio Wager. We got Sancho West. They're ready to get back in the game. And the bus driver, thank you, sir. He's got the games prepared as well. So we're jumping right back into all the action, Fortnite fam. Let's get it.
We're back with some new champions up top in first place. It's going to be looking at Lizen, Kaizen, and then at the same time, all the way with them as well, we have YZip. So it's going to be a new trio we're looking at who had height in the first game, the ultimate low ground in the next as well for games 2 and 3. Now in game 4, they have the lead by 4 points, Sancho.
And no doubt, it was showing you how powerful a top 3 placement was. YZip was literally chilling behind a shack, and someone found him here at the last moment there, finishing, I believe, coming into at least a high place finish, coming into second place, just taking a look at the elims right then and there. That was huge, and that's definitely the difference between coming in second place of Hen, Giannis, and Chapix, who've been running rough shot throughout the entire day. But yo, we are past the halfway point. This is game 4 of 6. This is the EU region. Later on today on the broadcast, we're going to have the NA East and NA West making its grand return back for all the West players out there, no doubt, are excited to see that coming back to the main broadcast. So thank you all so much for joining in. We appreciate you joining us from around the world on your Valentine's Day. And nothing like having Shio Wager as my Valentine's Day date. I'm having a great time. Thank
you, Sancho. It's been many years I haven't had a Valentine's date, but
I got
cured me from my curse. Let's go, dude. Past that though, man, Sancho, I have a dictionary, thesaurus, translator. I have everything I can to try to decipher what is going on in EU. But these guys are crazy, man. I can't figure it out. It's just fights on fights. It's stuff you can't define. It's you asked game 1 why Savage, pushing him to the storm in the Stealthy Stronghold. I gave you a reasonable explanation. I was incorrect. These guys just want to fight, man. They just want to fight.
Sometimes those fights can actually convert into valuable storm tags, as we're hearing the Predator kind of making a ruckus down below. That is the Predator music. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you get those valuable storm tags. You get to pick on people who are not necessarily experienced fighters when it comes to, in this, like the timing, right? You could catch someone off guard. You could sneak up on someone who's just pickaxing a bush or pickaxing a rock, and all of a sudden you get tagged in the back. But looks like Tarper God and Planets are taking that personal. They saw you. Hey, I saw this trio in my drop spot, and I took that personal. And I went ahead and took that personally, right? That's what they're doing right here. And his might get sniped here in the back. You gotta watch out.
I mean, every single game they kind of seem lost as to what the next play is to make in the mid game. So I feel like the pivot for Plains, Juke, and Tarper is to just push earlier on. They're not going to get invaded into Stealthy Stronghold by any other trio looking to push. They will try to affect Pui's game, but these guys, or Chapix's game, but these guys in total just understand how to kind of get pressure off of them. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Sancho, once again, a fight with Taste and I Drop and Savage.
Man, I'm just seeing, I'm not sure if this Salty Towers investment is true and true. As we see Tayson go down, we see Savage go down, and iDrop goes down. And Slove and Mirza, we did see them do really well holding on to height so early out there in the previous match. And we were talking about how they let the entire lobby go and get all those basically points taken away from them when they held on to the height. But they said, not this time. We're going to go ahead and push right into Salty Towers to take out the big dogs of Savage, iDrop. I just don't know. We saw this before. I don't like deja vu. Deja vu is weird. You always freak out and you don't understand what's happening, but it just feels so much deja vu for seeing a prominent trio go into this POI that's being contested, and it doesn't work out. It's kind of like it's taxing to see over and over again, to see some of the big names go down so early because they're in a drop spot that we already talked about. It's just plain weird.
It's business, Sancho. It's business, and sometimes business transactions can be uncomfortable, especially if you have ARs in the mix. You got to condition your POI. You got to fight no matter what trio's rolling up on you. You got to show that you are the boss of the business. So that's exactly what Savage is trying to do. Even if he loses, he'll be there next time as well. Advise Artur and Cubics, usually seeing them with some cool jivey mid-game action. They're going down in the Coliseum this time. They're trapped, and in this gladiator match, they just lost.
Yeah, we're seeing Browner, Yaxo, and Rapid coming off of that Cammy split, just as right side is basically a scavenger route that's been popularized by Cammy, and going into the Coliseum. Again, we're joining this match kind of like a little bit into the action. So everyone's basically on their secondary rotations or kind of peeking into. We're not seeing pure drop spots fighting right at the moment. We're seeing a little bit after that. As you can see here, the team that takes height after the 7th zone has an 86% chance win rate. Yes, that's true. But who's currently sitting on top of the board?
It's guys yeah. I mean, these guys did have one game where they got height, and they almost won the game, kind of.
They almost won the game, yes.
So, you know, they might not be winning entirely there, but, you know, I wonder what the percentage chance is for them just end up winning this qualifier overall, because they're looking really good right now. And fun fact with them as well, a little bit of research on the trio. You know, Lizen, 100% duels console FNCS champion.
Yes.
If you guys are watching this man stream or watching his gameplay, he's absolutely cracked. You know what I'm saying? Like a bullet through glass. Like, this man is leaving every single player he's fighting against breathless, not having another chance to play the game entirely. And the cool way these guys kind of came together, they don't really have a history of playing together overall. Kaizen and Wise Up always kind of dueling up with a Phil overall. You know, Levin was telling me in the background, all the Frenchies always play with each other. Maggle's kind of like the little link in the puzzle. Lizen plays with him a lot, but at the same time plays with Wise Up as well. So these guys came together off of, I guess, that connection. New trio, looking at their gameplay so far this FNCS, Sancho, I mean, what do you think? I think it's just absolutely amazing, aggressive, but at the same time smart.
I think, we might see new friendships form. We've been watching the EU region the entire time, and we've been seeing teams just break up all of a sudden. I know this is Valentine's Day. We're not supposed to bring up breakups and stuff like that, but we've been seeing some trios kind of split and find new homes. And we took a look of Snap Miro and Swag. They've been a trio for a long time. They did really well in the FNCS last time, coming into 22nd place. They were actually able to get a couple of Victory Royales in the semifinal stage, and they were the last team that snagged a Victory Royale in this wave right now in this match. This is match 4 again, and not a lot of breakouts in the fights this time around. It looks like everyone's kind of slowing down just a bit. This is what happens usually after that game 3, that fast-paced game 3. Adjustments, halftime adjustments happen, and you're seeing a lot of adjustments kind of being played out right in this moment. And now you're seeing Andretta, Rescar, and Scram looking to find some valuable Storm Surge tags, as 6 people have to go down, but no doubt they do not want to invest in some of the heals that they already got right now. And it's Hen, Chapix, and Janice here, who've been basically walking out of this PI free every time.
Not free this time. Last time had a nice fight to take. This time, Janice gets beamed down and taken out, question mark? He's basically down.
Yep, I'm trying to tell you, man. This is that moment you're catching someone off guard. They're not expecting the Andretta, Rescar, and Scram to be here, and you let your guard down, and you see that utility power item of the sniper ring true. And Janice is now trying to get it back up. No shield, and now in full retreat as the pressure is on, as they are retreating as much as possible. I mentioned they got in multiple engagements here, Janice, and they were able to survive even those secondary third engagements here in Craggy Cliffs. But Andretta, Rescar, and Scram, this may be it for this engagement here soon after. But are they disengaging again? Get in there! They must.
361 damage above Surge. I think they came for what they wanted, but
that's true.
It's scary still for that little bit of a rude wake up for Janice. It's like they're used to fighting Yaxwell, right? People were already inside the POI. Once they see it's clear, once that Camby split trio's gone, if they choose a different option, they chose the Coliseum this game, obviously. You feel safe, but you always gotta watch out for Andretta. You never know where you could be lurking. Now past rotations though, we're in boxes, Sancho, and fights are still going down.
Yeah, now we have a look at Moraine here, a decorated champion in the EU side of things. This was Levin's pick of Lunif, Jasper, Moraine, who hold on to Hunter's Haven, and because they are there at Hunter's Haven, they were able to eliminate the Mandalorian, and they pick up the Mandalorian sniper, so that gives you some great mobility when it comes to its use of its melee, as well as some great sniper damage. But now we're taking a look at this high-speed chase, trying to get into the safe zone as much as possible. So many tags onto this vehicle, literally 368 HP. Paxo, Roxo, and Queasy, who were able to get a Victory Royale here in the set of games, now almost in danger of getting pulled over and wiped out, because, hey, vehicles are cool and all. You can make some easy rotations, but they come at a price. And what an interesting spot to hole up in. Very close to center here in zone 3, underneath the bridge. And Shayo, you and I both know you can't go up. So this is going to be an investment to be at mid-ground if the zone pulls this way.
Well, let's talk about their win condition as a trio in general, right? Raxel, Paco, and Queasy. These guys have a very specific way to accrue points and win games. That's really operating and taking over different trios in the 9th zone. Them acting kind of like armadillos in this desert under a bridge, just holding up in their shell, not really peeking out and not doing anything till the zones start to move is good for them. That's good for their game plan. Just want to make it to end game and operate off of what other people are doing. So they'll find someone above their bridge, probably follow them for the rest of the game. Past that though, the top teams right now we're looking at, Sancho. Once again, mentioning them for I think the 8th time. Dyson, Lyson, and Wyzen. 114 points have taken over Tangenis and Chapix. That's Uguay 74. They're 4 points ahead. Kinzel's kind of at the behind side, 40 points down though. I feel like it's a 1v1 up top, and then after that, it's everyone else.
And that's what it can be. I know the top 10 gets it good into the semi-stage, and you're seeing the, oh my goodness, the team fire, the lobby fire that's coming in through, getting some big times of Luniv, and these kind of players, hey, if you ever experience competitive Fortnite, they don't miss. And that's what Moraine is trying to hold on to, just making up the layers, switching it out, trying to find his way to hide as much as possible to survive. But once that beam comes through, and then it's going to cost you a lot of mats to hold on to. But that was a nice little, hey, that moment right there, switching up the layers, going back into an old tarp that's now fully built, was a big play for Moraine. He's able to pick up Jaspe. He does have enough HP. Maybe Jaspe has some in the inventory, but those are the little differences when you get lobby focus that comes with experience. And that survival may give them enough, you know, going forward, those placement points or Elim points that basically they're playing with house points right now. You know what I mean? They have no business surviving a lobby focus.
At the same time, they get to play duos now, so, you know, we get to watch it too. Can't really complain, get the best of both worlds in these lobbies. It's always like, you know, half the lobby just has one teammate, the rest have a full team to play with. Looking at a few of those teams right now, maybe turning into just teammate situations. O'Reilly and Vidil going to be doing it out up against Tooth. And Puchik, it looks like close by. Snappy there too, but we know these guys don't like to, you know, finish off their food. They like to save a little bit of that for takeout, maybe dinner for another day. No O'Reilly and Vidil, though, they love to keep eating. Love to push these boxes, make sure no trios are remaining. I feel shocked. Like they can't do that though. They can't do that still.
I'm just shocked. I'm just looking at their track right now in today's games. Literally 2.3 average elims from Vidil and O'Reilly. Reason is like, is their prominence or their reputation is pushing people not in their path? I mean, we all know.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Hit me.
We are all Vidil now in EU. Everyone is pushing each other, right?
Right.
So their aggressive playstyle, I guess every single trio is now prepped for, because every trio looks like it's stir crazy right now. Box to box, they're finishing fights, they're not disengaging as much, even on the edge side of the zone. If everyone is playing like Vidil and Noah Riley, do they really have that element of surprise? Do they have the aggressional advantage, Sancho? I would say no, and that's why they're not working out as well today.
I'm just surprised. I mean, Sweaty Sands usually develops a lot of, that was basically the path to the finals last time we had here at the FNCS trios. You had, granted, I know 4ZR trio didn't make it down that path, but you had Janice's trio of X-Weez and Alex make it down that path going to Sweaty Sands. And even when it came down to that FNCS where you had Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson, they went down to Sweaty Sands to survive and get themselves that championship. Hit me with it.
Think about the path, right? Last season on that path, many trios walked. Vidil and O'Reilly got to run. You know what I mean? In general, in their respective trios. This season, this week right now, every trio is sprinting. And their running speed is just not as fast or faster at the moment, which is why I don't think they can keep up. Same thing with Advise. They got to start on different sections of that path last season. Right now, though, with everyone speeding up their rotates, getting ahead of Advise, their kind of pocket pick strategy of staying ahead and higher up in the zone isn't as easier to take. It's Mexi and Michael and Verox who are there instead of Advise. They take that spot. They have a better spot in the path. And then, you know, another trio can't play.
The blueprints, the playbook has been laid out for a lot of the EU region. It's now down to who gets to execute that playbook. And now you're seeing two kind of gambles for Haika and play it out. We see Ysep, who is currently sitting on top of the board with their trio with the power of the RPG in their backside. They have that ability to kind of put everyone down into the lobby as Wakey picks up a lot of evens. Paco gets the deal. So multiple teams are now kind of get traded out as we've seen this split that's happening right down the river here to see where this half in and half out goes out as Mexi Viral And Verox here could have an opportunity, and they get max pull. Not what they want to see. And you know, if a bouncer goes out, they're going to get beamed. But right now, there's a couple of trios. You're looking at the mini map who are looking really good. Who made that right investment.
Yeah, a bunch of employees to this circle, and right now only 2 trios got upgraded and promoted to CEO. Those are the guys inside the 5th zone. It's just 2 different colors, I think green and white inside the circle. Everyone else has to make a mad dash and move past the bridge that we saw Raxo, Bako, and Queasy just hiding from, right? They get to stay in the center. They get to chill, and now they're closer to that win condition once again. Playwall's made strides and bounds to sprint towards the zone. Verox kind of lagging slightly behind, and there's someone taking Storm Surge below them, so they have to be slightly careful here. They make the run, but I feel like somewhere over here, Sancho, someone's going to trip and fall.
Yeah, you're seeing right now the Storm Surge is literally being the factor of that, tripping everybody, and that's why Liza now is being sent down below to try to get some, not only on this rotation, but he's trying as much as pick up storm tags as possible. Only 44 above, and that's not going to last long, my friends. And there are only 3 people need to go down, now 2, but hey, every moment that passes is could be very dangerous here. So 13 above, yes, you could breathe for that spray moment, but you're gonna have to keep moving and keep fighting as much as possible. And usually you want to be with your pickaxe out, and look at all these catacombs that Liza, Kaizen, and Weiss have to go through. This is our #1 team that's sitting on top of the board. Over 40% of their elims occur before the 3rd zone. But this match here, Shayo, they have nothing going for them. They're gonna have a lot of work to do considering that Storm Surge. And look at this. Hen, Janice, and Chapix are sitting on height, and hey, at the same time, those Storm Surge tags, that gives a big target to anyone that's sitting on height to send beams through those builds.
I was looking at this tarp right now on height as well, Sancho. Almost looked like a new Fortnite map with its own POIs. It is so huge. Like,
it's big.
These guys invested so much metal to get across right now and just control all of this.
They got it.
I'm surprised they even have more than 100 mats per player. This is crazy.
They must have found some mats somewhere down below and just invested. Look at these huge alpha tarps, these huge ramps. This is like a mega porta fort. This is like a satellite dish 3.0, 5.0. No one's going to come up, but hey, the more surface area you've covered, the more you have to watch out for. Someone could sneak up with the bouncer play. But let's get down into the mess. Let's get down into the chaos that's down below for a brief second. We saw a nice elim go off right then and there, but now we get a nice little calm, serene look as now you're seeing everybody making a move. And Chapix, who had the most elims so far of the day in these set lobbies, is going to be primed for more, already getting 1 right then and there.
Yep, on the right side of the map, we have basically poverty. So many different people sharing different boxes and homes. Everyone kind of squished together, trying to make this rotate. Towards the left side of the map, though, multi-bathroom, multi-story homes as well. As Refsguard and Dreda and Jam have a huge tarp. So many windows to look through, so many options to be able to perform from. They're going to be fine here, but interrupted by Chapix as they bounce her right in front of them, taking over their home. Wakey, Kinzel, and Deceptos are kind of on that right side. Look at how tough it is to kind of navigate this zone, get above these small hills that can impede their movement so much if they don't have control, if they're not on top of things. This will be a very tricky zone to conquer.
Not only that, the zone is going to make you force a layer switch. So you might go right into the arms of someone's full box here. Very dangerous ground, Sui, as Wakey is very low on hard mats. So any wood mat is going to be built and kind of be destroyed by any beams. Now we're going to take a look at the overall picture now. Your top right is Analyx, looking really good with his trio, picking up with about 6 elims, looking strong. You have him, Janice, and Chapix here on your bottom right, looking down over everybody. But now Analyx goes down, and it's going to be Michael and Verox in that trio picking up that elim. So things are looking gravy at height, but at the moment right now, the chaos is still breaking out down below as we have 12 teams still up in total and 29 players here going into these final zones here, Shayo.
Yep, another mega trio tarp all the way up top. Janice and Chapix, we saw the percentage stat before, an 86% chance basically to win this game for them. The question is who's kind of battling for second overall. Where is Wiseup? Is he still alive either? Wakey kind of trying to make a few things possible, taking out Putrick. So I'm wondering exactly where Snappy is and if these guys will end up butting heads. Putrick's still alive, so that trio has 1 member still functioning for the moment, though. On low ground, it's 5 different trios getting into engagements and taking shots over and over again. It's getting absolutely destructive and crazy down below. Up top, sky high, it's blue skies completely, no issues whatsoever. Look at Wakey just trying to stay alive. He has an entire cube of pressure on him from every single face. It's just not possible, but he finds a little bit of, I guess, peace before the storm.
And Snazzy's is literally sitting in the cone right in front of him. He has the charge shotgun, and Snazzy just got out of there. He heard that pressure cooker, and he was out in a flash. But now it is up to the team at Height, who is currently coming into this match in second place. Hen, Janice, and Chapix are laying down the beams, and look at the E-limbs. We left them, and they barely had 3, but now they're cooking, and they have 9 E-limbs total in the Victory Royale in their sights. Only 3 teams up, and this strong trio is looking really good. As you see, they play well, boys, down to about a couple more people. You have Snazzy up. Sir6 is doing his best. Hey, no matter what, you did a great ride here getting into that top 3, but it is not going to be before long before you get turned into points. Here it is, and yes, Chapix, Hen, and Janice with the textbook play, and 12 E-limbs Shio.
Everyone is studying this Height textbook. I might have to buy one myself. I think the analysts will have theirs open because that's all we're seeing in EU Endgame today. I mean, Zeke, what do we have after that game?
Hey, Sancho, sorry, we're up on high ground. What did you... Oh, they threw it to us. Oh, hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, apparently height equals wins. I didn't know that. Reese, did you know that?
Yes, I did know that. Yes. No, I did. And indeed, this team played it so good. They took height in that 5th zone super early. And if you actually noticed, that was a max distance 5th zone into that kind of dead side north of the blue steel bridge there. And nearly every single team was on that south side. And because of this, Hen, Chapix, and Janice just kept height all the way through, continually pressured all the way through, hit that bounce pad max distance when they needed to conserve those materials, and picked up that great Victory Royale from it.
I think it's important to note as well, right, is that if you actually looked right before they took height, you know, the team that we actually expected to see were there, right? We had Lysen, Kaizen, Ryzen, they were up there, but the problem is that I think they are having potentially is the fact that when you have RPG, you know, there is just that pressure to play high ground, right? Everyone expects you to be up there dominating from height. And so when they have a zone that pulls way across the map, they're thinking, how do we save maps for height? How do we also get, you know, surge tags? Like, there's a balance there that they need to sort out. And so they were struggling with Surge. They just ultimately were like, hey, we're going to go down to Surge. We should just drop down, give up height, and try at least stay up in this game. And so it meant that Chapix in that way was just walk through and take height so easily.
Yeah, and something on that actually is that, you know, we've not really been seeing Lazen's team struggle with Storm Surge really at all, but when we kind of got that camera switch over to them, they were in such a good position on high ground, but their materials were not looking good, their heals were not looking good, and some of their weapons and ammo was not looking good either. So clearly earlier on than this 5th zone, they were having struggles, right? Their Storm Surge plan wasn't in action because they have that really far north zone. It was almost a max distance rotate for them, right? Completely north, and they drop in the complete south side of the map. So clearly they had to loot quickly and maybe didn't get exactly everything they needed and maybe got a little bit scuffed because of it.
These games are just going 100 miles an hour, right? And it's hard to kind of like pinpoint, like if that was the error, how do we fix that for these next 2 games? Because they're all going so fast. We have to kind of relive some of these moments because, man, this was a crazy game.
It wasn't, you know, one of the things we've been watching a lot off spawn, and a lot of times these congestions is really making it a lot more difficult for some of these teams. Like, as we see Browner's team, we were landing at the Cami split, who's already mentioned, and because of that big headshot snipe they made, they managed to just then, right, we're going to push in and get some more eliminations because and maybe change. Because of those elimination points are worth so much, we're just going to be aggressive and we're going to get those points up.
Yeah, in that highlight package that we saw, Stir6 getting a bit of a highlight there. The Playwell boys, one of my favorite trios in the game, honestly, so amazing. We mentioned earlier how last season they played with iDrop and they just showed that, you know, even without necessarily being the biggest names in the region, you can still put up a great fight. Obviously now playing with Crizzy and, you know, they're not in the range of qualifying yet. That game was huge for them, right? Coming second place, they need to have, you know, a couple more games like that. If they can squeeze another good game, maybe work their way into that top 10. They're landing Retail uncontested, right? Obviously Retail being one of those POIs that's been in the game forever now, and so, you know, you expect to see them starting to pick up the pace a bit here.
Yeah, and you know what? Are we surprised that Hen, Chapix, and Janice are in first place? 2 Victory Royales out of 4 games, 50% win rate. That's much better than mine is in pubs by far. And they're still managing to equal frag out as well. 40 eliminations total, 164 points, really just taking it away. And that high ground playstyle is clearly winning them the games and currently the tournament as well.
Yeah, and speaking of that high ground play style, right? The team in second place, Kaizen, Lysen, Wiser, even with their struggles last game, another team that is trying to prioritize height, right? They're landing Hydro 16, they're getting that RPG, they want to be on high ground, dominating the lobby. They're up there as well. Andalex, Janice, NX, Squeeze. Oh, I said Janice. See, I'm so used to saying Janice. It's not Janice. It's Snazy. Andalex, Snazy, NX, Squeeze. They're here in third. Really nice from them, right? I think they're probably the favorites coming in, right? One of the best trios in the lobby outside of just, today's performances. And so seeing them in third is no surprise there.
Not at all. And moving on to our next page, from our 6th down to the 10th, these people are currently in that qualification threshold. And, we kind of touched on it there, that Playwell trio who's currently in 7th. These guys before this only had 30 points. So they actually managed to get a 39-point game. So a really, really big game for them, pushing them up into that 7th place slot. 2 games remaining left, so they're gonna, even if they kind of get eliminated off spawn the next game, one big game should keep them in that threshold. So just purely based on that 2nd place finish there, really performed them up into the leaderboards.
Yeah, Reese, we talked about at the top of the show, right? There's so many points that go out when you have a top 3 game that the potential for a swing is huge. If you're one of these teams here in 11th to 15th, it's not over by any means whatsoever. And Dretta, Rescard, and Scram, they're going to be seeing Iobafo and Passive below them, and they're going to be thinking, hey, this is our chance to pull away, right? We have 2 more games left. You have a big game, and you almost secure your qualification right there now with 2 games left.
Yeah, and you know what? That is what these teams are going to need to do. And, Void, Passive, and Iobafo, like you kind of mentioned, is contesting Rescard and Scram in that Steamy Stacks area, both on the threshold, just missing out. So, to be honest, if one of these teams goes down in the early game 1 and the other goes down in the last game, maybe both of these teams kind of might stay down here into that position, but if one dominates both games, they could easily fly up into that qualification threshold. So that early game engagement is so critical going into these next 2 games.
Yeah, I think after the first game, right, we saw a bunch of teams sort of struggling with Surge. And so early game, we're seeing really aggressive plays. You alluded to it in the highlight package, right? Rabid's team with Yagso and Rabid's team with Yagso and my mind blanks now. Of course, my mind blanks. They're landing Kami split, right? They're landing Kami split, but typically, you don't see a team land Kami split and W key into Coliseum, right? That's a bit unconventional, right? They're completely just trying to pick up as many limbs as possible, and as well as that, not have to worry about Surge moving forward throughout the game.
Yeah, and you can see them now in 20th place down there. And, there's a lot of discussion on the Kami split. For people who are unaware, it's on the east side of the map, landing in kind of the compact cars area and Lake Canoe beneath that. Really, really powerful for fishing. And you know what? You just can't win from that. You just don't win because you've landed there.
Listen, Fortnite fam, this is the level of breakdowns we've got. If you appreciate them, the best Valentine you could give them is a follow. Do it, because these guys are incredible.
True.
Now, of course, it is time. We got to keep the ball rolling. There's more action waiting to be had. So we're going to kick it back over to our casters who should also follow. It's Sancho S, it's Shy Wager. Let's get it.
Jumping straight back in the game, and Sancho, I'm just trying to fix my posture, get a little bit higher, get some height in my life, because I want to win more too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it is blue skies, like you mentioned, and the height is proving true. And it kind of flipped the script a little bit from FNCS trios before. We were talking about, height wins games, but doesn't win championships. But we're seeing that if a team can hold on to height and cash in on those elims, you're looking at a dominant lead right now from that trio that we just took a look at, Hen, Chapix, and Janice. But Rescard, Scram, and Dretta, this is big for them. Like they kind of pointed out there in the analyst test, Shio, that they knew that they could kind of push themselves up, gain the distance, because we're all playing for that top 10 finish here to put your way into this semifinal stage.
Yeah, right now it's going to be 2 teams who are both in 11th and then 15th place. The 11th place team is
no,
completely disrespecting Void. Oh my God. And they get to have the win there, and I guess a spot in the top 10 for the moment. But man, it's getting personal now, Sancho.
Oh man, when you get hit with a dance right afterwards, that's, it's personal. And it's just a way, you talked about it earlier, Shio, the conditioning that goes into it as well. People don't forget. I mean, I still remember that player that L danced on me with the donkey laugh all the way back in the summer skirmish. I'll never forget you. But right now, Esferos and Red Rush are saying, don't forget about us, Patrick, as they're going to have another skirmish build out here. Oh, gets put in that awkward 50-50, but Toos now it's going to have to be traded out here slowly as the rest of the trio comes in as much as possible. And Toos now down on all fours as much as possible. Now Zappy, Red Rush making quick work of this trio. Zappy, ooh, out, over in the blink of an eye. It happens.
Out for the moment. And it's like all these teams who are like side by side on the leaderboards, the one who's actually doing better in the day is winning. So we saw Andretta win over at Steamy Stacks. They were 11th versus the 15th place that Void and Passive were in. And then over here, Snappy, who was in 17th, goes down to Red Rush, who was in 13th as well. So these guys are moving closer to a top 10. We'll see how that works. A switch up over at Stealthy Stronghold. No stealth here at all. Sancho is going to be straight up fire shots over and over again. Snagged once again, goes down just like game 2 and 3. It's Demon XXRR who's there to land those shots.
Yeah, in the moment here, another breakout that may be happening here. We only have 2 games left. This is match 5 of 6 for the moment here. And this kind of brings me back to the, Stark Industries, when the music swells up, it kind of changes the way you approach this area. And that's my always fear of kind of playing into Stealthy Stronghold is there's just so many nooks and crannies that people could sneak up on you. You have this fortress wall that is, you have to go up and over if things go down, but people could just literally sit up there and send beams, send a snipe right through, and it's just a dangerous POI. And I'm surprised that people are going to fight over it. But hey, when you see so many of the other teams and other POIs being taken, sometimes you just don't have a choice. You just got to go with what you got to get. Yeah,
there's everyone's always like, just move to somewhere uncontested. It's like, man, I would, but there's no space on the map.
Every inch. I mean, Reese kind of broke down that Cammy split. Even those routes. I mean, we always talk about scavenger routes being variable. Every player that you see here, folks, understands every nook and cranny. They know where every loot chest will be. They know where every type of mushroom in the forest, they kind of forage. They know exactly what character quest that they can do to get gold. This is what we're talking about of so many hours of practice, so many hours of VOD reviews, of looking at the replays, all coming into fruition here in the FNCS stage. And that is what we're seeing. You're seeing like this, like you like to call it, Shael, like a 3-level layer chess game.
Yeah, honestly, it's like a 3D chess. But at the same time, even if you know how to play one of those chess games, it doesn't mean you're going to play it right the next time, right? Like Levin pointed out, for Kaizen and their trio, yes, they've had good games, then suddenly we tune in with them, and they're down on Storm Surge. This game as well, looking kind of iffy moving into Slurpy Swamp. Looks like their game and their game plans getting stretched out thin or changed up on the fly. We have a random winner now. I don't think I've seen Shaco's Granjo and Demon XSRR actually went out Stealthy Stronghold this definitively before and spend this much time in here. So people still experimenting game number 5 right before the day does wrap up, and changes are happening. Just because you're doing something well doesn't mean it's going to stay that good for the rest of the day.
I think you definitely have to do that. I mean, you're still accruing the series points to kind of put you forward into semifinals if you do well. So that's what all these players are playing for at the bottom of the board. It's not necessarily top 10 gets you in that guaranteed seat situation, but you still have so much to figure out as well to carry into the next week that we have here. This is just the first of many qualifiers that we have here, and I cannot wait till we get to the very end, but the focus is going to be right here, right now, in these last 2 matches of who's going to be able to get in that top 10. Nico, Alpha, and Blaster had to cross so many times with Mr. Savage and Swordways, and they are now on the north side of the Coliseum. As I'm just surprised by, we're seeing teams like in weird places that we normally in other FNCS, like you see like a rhythm, like you see teams fighting over and over again, even on rotates, but we've been seeing these prominent premier teams making some very aggressive, and that shows you how awesome the mobility here is in center. You have the 0-point crystals, which we haven't brought up yet, the 0-point fish as well, and as the sand tunneling, getting people all over the map, definitely here in dead center. And for me personally though, when you're going to bring it down to this fight here, Blaster, Nikov, and Alpha, I personally don't like fighting here in Coliseum. You can't build in most places. There's a little awkward like half walls all over the place. The rails get in your way, and it goes down to real like box fighting, but at the same time is you may turn like to cover yourself on the wall and he doesn't place because he got that half wall situation.
It's nice to say posted up there then, right? Because then if every team knows it's bad to fight, they'll more so look for tags. Getting tags is huge for the progression of your game, remember, for search. And yeah, a different look.
Look at them. They're pushing out south this time. Last time we saw them go up to Stealthy Stronghold. I think they're testing where can they win a trio fight, where they can engage with someone and wipe them out quickly. If you are in engagement, you're gonna have to wrap up that fight in about a minute, because once you get past that minute, not only have to deal with the rotation, but you're looking at a lot of investment in mats. But iDrop and Savage and Tayson know that Paco and Rasco, they already left. They know exactly, and this is a first taste of the use of the beef boss to upgrade their inventory.
Yeah, they're gonna go for a few upgrades, a few tactical shotguns, I believe, from this POI to get. Correct me if I'm wrong. I see.
Yes.
I think one in iDrop's body, but I think the biggest thing these guys are doing this week is just vibing. They're looking, just like you said, at the game state of the game, how rotations to different drops work. One of the top trios expected to come in today. They were 3rd place in round 3, down round 4, 21st. So definitely playing over aggressive, looking to see what they can do. Ryan Loof and Jaspe, once again, last FNCS kind of rocky. This one, they have some confidence coming into week 1. What is the game plan? How will they get into that top 10? That's the question. We were talking about Blaster, Beakoff, and Alpha as well. They move over out of the Coliseum back to what Dusty Depot is now. And the Remnants, these guys are 10th place currently. So they are the ones kind of holding everyone back, hopefully for their case.
You just
and getting top 10 today.
A nostalgia splash, bro. Like the Dusty Depot. Remember when the meteor was like floating over it for a long time?
Frozen in time, yeah.
Frozen in time. But now we're seeing, oh no, the Playwell boys, now they're moving up the leaderboard, maybe frozen just for a brief moment. The freeze is on from Michael, Verox, and Mexi. And we've been seeing these rotations happen all the time, but now they're getting into it. And what a great start for them so far. I mean, this is going into the last 2 frames, but they have 74 points, and now you're seeing some new elements come into the fray of the fire. Now lights up builds, and you have the Dragon Breath shotgun, and of course, we haven't seen it yet. If anyone could hit the Dragon Sniper, I would love to see it out and about. But I was saying, like, that fire actually caused a lot of damage into the late game in that previous match. So many teams had to get out of the low ground because builds were on fire. So it doesn't take much to ignite the entire build, and it lights on the grass as well. But now we're watching Red Rush kind of loop around completely. We saw them fight on the other side of the Slurp Factory, but they went up all these fishing holes, no doubt, and they're making a nice like loop around to avoid, looks like, Savage and Drop in that trio.
Yeah, they'll be on rotation. Many people will be walking by some high-profile trios and people on top sides. My question as this fight breaks out, though, going back to Verox, never mind, hold up. Savage with a snipe. Doesn't matter if it's south, northwest, or east. If your head is near his sight line, that sniper bullet's grabbing it. Shakes them down too. He'll find out where the rest of the trio is.
Wow.
And these guys are looking to wrap it up.
That is an old school Skull Trooper out and about. That means you all know Savage has been around the scene for a long time. We're rocking the Skull Trooper. We talk about the flex of the axe of champions. When you got that Skull Trooper on your backside, you know you mean business. You know you've been through all the metas, and you know that you can hit your snipes, kid. And Savage and Tayson and iDrop take out Red Rush in a blink of an eye. And dude, I think they're gonna figure out that, hey, they could make it all the way down here from Salty Towers. They could go all as far as north into Stealthy Stronghold. They have options in there, and they could find storm tags, and more importantly, they could find those elims.
But at the same time, they're probably wondering what the heck is going on. Why is Savage in my POI? This might be one of the reasons, right? Like, they're not at the top side of the leaderboard. They're trying out new things. For the people at the top, though, they want to end up staying there. 164 points for Hen Janice and Chapix. I feel like they, unless something crazy happens, are guaranteed the top 2 spots.
You know what I gotta say? I don't know if it's worth procrastinating your qualification. You got to get in. Get in. It's right here. It's right now. It's right in front of you. You made it this far. You played multiple days. Now is your chance to get into that top 10. Kind of relax and watch what everybody's doing. VOD review as easy as much as possible. Watch the broadcast. Understand what teams are doing in your drop spot, and kind of get ready for the final, for the semifinals. So, hey. But now they're in about, they could do it here. They could have a pop-up game. We talked to 11 and Reese at the Analyze This, said anything could happen when it comes to this format, especially with elims, they could pop off. So now a lot of the teams that are on the outside looking in for the top 10, having 2 matches, and you could definitely do it, as we've been seeing some big points coming in from a lot of the trios that we have here. Look at that. 1,100 Storm Surge damage overhold. They've been working this match, and they've been working this lobby here, Shayo.
Yeah, they have a contract to keep holding the W key at the same time, no matter how much damage they do. Well, maybe held onto it a little bit too long. Savage dropping down with the lever action, though. Purple variety, and his plays are epic too. Lanoop on the backside almost gets shot down, but not going to be there just yet. Savage with just 1 elim is not going to have to clutch out. iDrop's not going to be a factor in this fight either. Low HP, another shot. Savage is in 1v3 mode right now, and it's not during a storm fight, so it's even more scary. This is not a man who's doing this out of desperation. He's pushing you because he wants to. And oh my goodness, he's not stopping. These guys could disengage, go for that reboot as well after they grab it, but here is the play. They are, I guess, doing it. It's a disengage. There we go. You grab the extra shotgun. They're going for the reboot.
Yeah, going for the reboot and gonna have another fight over then, but you know that sound of the reboot van is gonna alert everybody else that's along the Slurpy Swamp here. It's like, hey, there's someone walking around with not a lot of mats, but I think Savage picked up the purple lever action shotgun, and you see Queasy out in the distance, so it could be a matter of moments we see can Savage trio get back into the fight. The tornado that they are on right now, the terror that they're on right now, the sandstorm action, whatever kind of natural disaster that you want to bring into the fray. They're out there and they're getting a lot of storm surge. And actually, I wanted to bring this up. Kinzel, Waking Deceptos, very consistent today. You're looking at their placements, they're looking very strong, and they're getting 40 limbs, and they have about a third place, fourth place, sixth place finish, and so close to racking up that third power placement points. So if they could just get a little bit better, I mean, no doubt they're going to most likely qualify. But that team, everyone has to keep an add there to the list of teams that could win it all going forward.
No, absolutely. Like, you know, my therapist actually texted me during all this craziness. I was saying, how do I handle this European action? She was like, hey, you know, watch Kinzel, Deceptos, and Wiki today because they're keeping things consistent. They're playing their still real play style. They're not going kind of weird, doing things they wouldn't normally do. They're still kind of just playing from Coral Castle, rotating and playing their end game. It's a nice kind of set point I can always look back to and understand that I'm not going crazy watching these guys go so weird and so different off of their POIs. Like, for example, we're watching Frey right now, but we saw Verox in a fight post Dirty Docks on top of a mountain, forcing Dragon Breath shots, right? You were breaking it down, Sancho. They don't usually do that. They just go for the surge. They chill, dip up mountain to mountain. We don't usually see them in mid-game engagement. At the same time, we're seeing Savage and Slurpy Swamp off of Salty Towers. Like, it's really different this week for EU. It's a lot more aggressive. And the aggressivity is honestly paying off. The experimentation, I think all these trios are learning a lot about how the rest of the map is operating, how fights look from POI to POI. It just sucks for a lot of these passive trios like Marine, Jasper, Lanoof, like Raxo and Queasy. If they don't get their perfect game, if things don't go to plan and Savage is knocking down their door, if Payson's there to pitch with it, spells trouble. They're not as confident in those fights.
And it's another engagement. It's the second fray into this fight, the second battle that's happening between two. Second skirmish from Luna's trio going up against Savage's trio. Last time Luna's trio was able to hold off Savage's trio for a bit. Even though a big time, I mean, there was a huge snipe. Savage was literally going in with liver action and he was no-scoping in that box fight. I mean, that's the kind of things that Savage was doing. And I think Savage at the end of the day was like, hey, if I get a nice clip out of this, at least I'll go ahead and post it somewhere. I can see the thumbnail right there that Savage is going for. But hey, sometimes crazy mad experiments can get you into some insane inventions and insane results, as we've seen the gas can play coming out here, and Wave Advise here hears that crazy bang out of nowhere, and Advise just barely survives that engagement. We've been seeing, I saw on social media, a 5 gas can play from the NA West boys, causing some destruction. So hey, no matter what you have, you can see in the inventiveness, the experiments from all our Fortnite pros paying off, and maybe you could take some of these strats for you at home, but hey, you got to try to execute it and practice it as much as possible, because there's a difference from a pro doing it and someone who's just learning the ropes.
Yeah, sometimes they always say don't try this strat at home. You have the opportunity to try it up.
You can try
it or whatever script, you can try it up, but you know, I don't guarantee anything.
No,
this strat though, let's break it down for Raxo, Paco, and Queasy, right? It's always more so like a defensive ship, and they want to make sure their hull never gets cracked, that they're always sailing on the ocean till they get to a late zone. But man overboard, Raxo gets shot out.
Throw the life
in the build. They'll get the revive. There was a little bit of a life raft there, so they'll get him back on the ship, hopefully into the end game as well. They're isolated. They're on their own little travel spot, their own journey, but 5th game outside the zone, have to kind of burn a few heals for Raxo as well. It's looking kind of shaky on the ship.
Yeah, and that's also gonna, you talked about that defensive like fortress that they built there. It's gonna hurt them on the rotation at the same time, as you see that they're about 100 above, so that's not looking really good as we're getting into that 4th zone that's about to close here, get into that 5th zone, the half in and half out. But this is a team that I feel like a lot of people did not have on the radar. I mean, they're pushing at the Hydro 16 dam, and they're on the close on top of the board, but Another team that's on close to the board is Quinzel, Deceptos, and Wakey. They're just on the outside of the top 3. Number 4 going into this match here, and they're looking really solid, but look at that. It's so interesting to see so many people playing the outskirts, because you could tell they're just gambling for that 5th zone. They're all in the outskirts. No one's in the middle. They're all gambling. What you see, Shy?
I see people losing some gambles. Noah Riley going down in the feed and gets completely eliminated. At the same time, Hen went down as well. Yes, we tuned back in with Janice and Chapix, now down a teammate. Now down the option to control height as well. The only way really any trio has been winning so far. So how many more points can they get, and can they stay in the lead is the question. Once again, Advise, his game plan also kind of interrupted as somehow Sancho, Savage, Jason, and iDrop are alive.
The way they've been playing so reckless, there's no, they have no business being in this side right now. They have no business being up, but hey, sometimes skill can overcome what's up, like, I guess analyzing, you know, like what's
it's hard, man. I want to make claims too. I want to break it down, but they're literally just shooting whatever they can see. iDrop going for it as well, finally getting punished once again, I guess. You know, he's been knocked down a few times, been at 20 HP a few times. It doesn't even matter if they don't have a team, though. Janice and Chapix have gone for a higher position, and they're still looking to control the lobby.
And this is the strength of their position right here. Even though they are not at full strength in their trio, Janice and Chapix are close to sitting at height right now, but you see that when you're sitting at height, you have the opportunity to do one bouncer and you hit right over. But we saw just a brief moment. There is also another team that's already sitting dead center, no doubt, up a couple of layers from Jess right now. Jess is going to go ahead and connect, and they might know something that we don't know here, Shio.
I mean, they definitely have like that usual exam of holding height. You know, what questions we have to answer to keep it and hold on to it. But there's a new test now, a test of observation for everyone else in the lobby. Can they tell that height is only just 2 people strong, that they're down a teammate? The first person to solve that question, to kind of ace that test, has such a huge advantage of maybe even taking height before that 7th zone. And then as we saw with the stat, almost have a 90% chance of winning the game. So who will notice first that height is afflicted? Will Tayson, Savage, and iDrop keep playing aggressive? So many crazy questions to ask and answer this game.
Yeah, I cannot wait for 11 and Reese to break down this Savage run, by the way. But this is the consistent run that I've been talking about. Quinzel, Deceptos, Wakey having about that 4 average elims right now, well, 2 right now, and they have very front zone priority in the storm circle, so they could kind of make their way. They're going to elect to stay in this mid layer here, go up a little bit just more in that layer switch as much as possible. Now we have a nice overview as we're seeing Janice take a lot of beams as well here, and Janice actually goes down on the top right, and Savage, Tayson, and Drop are now going for that big height, and wow, Janice gets taken on the bottom right of the screen, but here it is, the reckless kids out here making a lot of noise, and they're pushing for height.
Pushing straight up for height. It's a 2-way fight all the way up top. Squeeze on top of iDrop, lands a few shots. Savage goes down. Snazy stays alive. 2 teammates that have full shields versus kind of a fragmented overall trio from the other side. This is absolutely crazy. They're build fighting straight to the skies, up towards the limit. Tayson is now up top. Snazy down below. Somebody sandwiched. And iDrop's out of builds. He can't do anything. He's solo fighting for height. This is too crazy. Oh my goodness. Can iDrop find a refresh and maybe see Tayson up top? He bounced it off. And Snazy's down too.
It's a tree.
God. What am I watching in EU? It's absolutely a circus all the way on high ground. And past that on mid, everyone's consistently trying to survive. They're not even aware, Sancho, of the antics up top on the server.
No, they'll probably find out later on social media, but hey, that is the craziness for height. You invest way too hard. They held on to it. Sometimes you just got to sell as much as possible, and that was definitely a soul right now. But let's go back into just what's happening here, folks. We got the match.
Can happen here.
Yeah, and what can happen is really what these guys need to be doing is learning from Hen, Janice, and Uguay. I say Uguay because his name's Uguay, but it's Chapix up at the top. You know, they're securing that height early on in that 5th kind of zone, and they're making sure that they get kind of far through that end game because of this and grab that top 3 placement points. Now we're looking at these 11th to 15th teams. You know, we've got like Downs, ETQ, and Pablo. For example, these guys are going to need to get into that good position in 5th zone with some good elevation as well, to ensure that they can keep going throughout this end game. You know, if they're risking it, playing down on low ground with kind of low materials, you know, if they've scuffed that early and mid game coming into this, their chances of staying throughout the entire game are shortened by a lot.
I'm going to counter you there, Reese. I think they've done a great job, and I'll tell you why. Because obviously they are tied at 64 points, right, with 10th place, and so it's going to be really important that they sort of try to beat out Slove's trio in any way they can. But last game they were so dominant as a full trio sitting on low gun. It's unconventional to see teams in EU like hard playing low gun, right? Like that's not typical of EU. But these guys did a great job, right, cutting off teams at the front side of low ground, being able to pick up eliminations that way, and ultimately, right, it does help them a lot. It propels them a bit closer to being able to qualify.
That's true definitely for guys like Downs who are 1 or 2 points on the boundaries, but when we're getting lower down, our current team in 15th with Red Rush, 44 points, they're gonna need to be in that top 3. They're gonna need that consistent, and as we move further down, it's gonna be more and more important to get into that top 3 position. 16th to 20th we're seeing right now. I dropped Tayson and Savage again. They're gonna need to maybe play placement a game, I don't know, to get themselves up there.
Man, this is it. One final game on the first week of qualifiers. Which trios will push on to top 10, we'll have to find out. But Fortnite fam, it is time. The final game on the day for Europe. Let's get ready to jump back on the battle bus with Shy Wager and, of course, Sancho West.
It's too crazy, Sancho. It's too crazy right now in game number 6 for EU. Sweaty Sands, where we start off this time. No O'Reilly of a deal. And reason, I mean, they had a little bit of a rocky start, but so far Europe has just been everything from aggressive, passive, to smart, to some crazy all-in plays.
I mean, we got it all. I mean, if this was a streaming service, you got comedies, you got romance, you got horror, you got action, you got all types of entertainment that's happening here on Valentine's Day for the FNCS. This is the opening day, essentially, that we have here for all our competitors. This is coming down to round 4. I mean, all of our competitors have been competing. This is the first day of the broadcast, and it's been so awesome to bring this up. But this is just the beginning for our broadcast. Later on, we're gonna have NA East and NA West, so don't you go anywhere. Lock it in. Make sure you get all your snacks for the day. And hey, maybe you have someone special to share this day. I already have someone special to share these runs with Shio Wedge. But Shio, you kind of nailed it on the head. It's like, so many teams are trying to get into the top 10, but this is just the strangest kind of form of competitive play that we haven't seen. And maybe we're seeing a new form of Fortnite evolving right in front of us. And meta, who knows?
Who knows? Because honestly, looking and feeling out personally yourself, traveling to these POIs and playing aggressive is one thing. At the same time, we're talking about Valentine's Day. Might need to find Miro a mermaid or something. This man, 2 games in a row, fish extravaganza, 24/7, winning or not 2 games in a row, 2 games overall. Like the heal games are on point, but as are these aggressive box dives. It's like the best of both worlds. But at the same time, some of the plays that are being made, right? It's slightly questionable in execution. It could also be the worst of both worlds.
And this is going to be a huge engagement right now. We talked about Red Rush being on the outside looking in, needing like at least a top 3 finish here. Currently about 6 places outside of that top 10. Again, top 10 gets into the semifinal stage, and this is what everyone's been competing for the rest of the time. There's no prize money right now on the line. None of that. This is all about getting into that next level. So that way you can work yourself into the finals that's going to be happening at the end of this FNCS. So Red Rush, we got to, we old school, FNCS squads, right? We've been talking about the entire time. All these different EU players, they all know each other. They all work together. They all play together. They all practice together. They've all exchanged a lot of battles together. But now, it's all coming down to this right here, right now, at least for today.
Yep, Snappy versus Red Rush. As Sancho mentioned, former teammates, and now looking to qual. This is going to be a fight that we know is not going to really get disengaged from. Only happened once in game number 3, but once again, it's been all in after all in EU at these early job spots. Snazy, Analex, and X Squeeze really haven't been affected at Caddy Corner, really haven't looked for many early game fights, but they do get kind of caught up in the times while they're rotating. Apparently, after that last game, they're also looking nice in second place, 151 points. It's up to them if they really want to strive for first or just keep working on their playstyle overall. Good practice though, Sancho. One of the things that people always, I feel like it's one of the hardest things to do is overtake the team ahead of you on the final game. There's not much practice for that type of pressure, that type of situation. So this is a vital game pretty much for people at the top, both holding their spots and also trying to take over.
It's so interesting you bring that up because Analyx and Xweez, alongside with Janice in the last FNCS trios, were part of that. They were doing their best to chase down Mongrel, Mitro, and Tayson, who had a huge lead going into that final day of the FNCS trios on the EU side. They were unable to catch up to them. They had like about 3 games to just close the gap by 5 points, and they just fell short. But this team right now is falling short. They're 26th place right now. So much. They got a lot of work to do to get into that top 10 of Zappy, Toos, and Plutric. They're having just one of those days where things are just not working out. And we always talked about here in the EU side of things that it's anybody's day. But hey, their ride could start right here. But Plutric gets a big shot in the back, and you're seeing the complexity of fighting in these warehouses. And just like that, out he goes. But hey, able to survive. His teammate was right there to help out Zappy, Plutric, and to survive for a moment. But this is another team that's been very aggressive coming out of that Hydro, and they see the leaderboard, that Elan board lighting up. They have an opportunity in the third party, and here we go. Hey, you thought you're right. You have to keep fighting here, Toos and Zappy. You have to keep it up.
Yeah, many different things from the winners of that fight as well. This does mean that Red Rush, unfortunately, not qualify this time around. 16th place is where he's kind of frozen into. It's unfortunate, but that last game, Red Rush was the one who did come out on top from what I saw overall, or was close to. And every time Red Rush has survived and Lazen pushed in, it was kind of passive. Now, with Zappy surviving and Lazen pushing in, there's a little bit more aggression. So, a completely different playing field for both teams. Question is, what does Lazen want from this? I'm guessing just kind of the surge tags.
No.
Possibly a chance to even remove a team that could be close to them to qualifying as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. They get the elims. I mean, they're currently sitting in 3rd place, and now we're jumping all over the map. We're all gonna have eyes on the leaderboard as much as possible to let you know what's going down, as what teams are doing their best to sneak on in. This is their last time, the last opportunity here. This is the 6th match here. And we're just taking a look at this team is currently sitting with 33 points there. They definitely need a high finish, just like we're watching with Toos, Plutric, and Zappy. They're in the same boat, the same situation, and I'm just surprised that, Skite and Falconly haven't been able to make some noise today here, Shayo.
Yeah, Falconly's been taken down early game by many different trios on aggressive pushes like this, but both these guys are sitting right beside each other on 19th and 21st place. They both need to hit top 10. They're so far away, they need to get end game, but they're not even going to be able to see the mid game right now because they're fighting early Robaps. In a duo kind of spot with Skite, not going to find much success there at all from the box, being pressured. Raze has popped a Pepper as well, so he's moving fast to get this pinch started.
And they have to hurry up because a real pinch is about to happen. That's coming from Analyx Trio. Look at the mini map. It is those lime green. Lime is coming in hot, and that squeeze is going to be real from them. And that is the kind of rotation they like to make. They like to make sure that they're fully matted up. They got every non-box possible, and they late rotate into Lazy Lake. And they're going to be a strong opportunity. There it is. There comes some shots coming in from that trio. And we're going to keep an eye on the Elim board. But here's another trio that it's kind of interesting, right? Vidil versus Kinzel here. I know Kinzel this is where they land. This is where they go to Coral Cancel. But Vidil and O'Reilly coming out of Sweaty Sands are trying to move up the leaderboard a little bit. They're on the backside of the board.
Yeah, this is like kind of the sun versus the moon, black versus white in terms of like the way these guys play the game. Wakey's trio in total is the most consistent. You don't even need the leaderboard stat to understand it. You've been watching the broadcast, you've seen these guys alive and on screen, either low, on high, or in mid-game 24/7. Whereas we saw Noah Riley, Vidil, and Reason just pushing things after Sweaty Sands, just like Savages at Salty Towers, over and over again. It's a story of aggression versus some of the most passive play that we've seen today. And right now, passive is winning all the way inside that top 5. They're 5th place currently, Kinzel. And then we see Noah Riley on the other side of things with Vidil. These guys are sitting in 20th. So clearly trying to grasp at straws that are too far to reach on their trio side. Meanwhile, over at Salty Stronghold, Tayson's back rapid all the way around, Sancho. Game 1, they pushed this. And now in game 6, they're back to say hello.
Hey, we saw Miro with the flopper play, but hey, flops are not going to be able to help you to survive this storm that is Tayson, Savage, and eye dropping. Maybe they took it personally to see someone eat so many fish for a victory royale, but down goes Savage actually, and down goes eye drop. The reverse card is real. Swag and Snap able to survive a crazy push and they get rewarded. Look at the power weapons they get off of that win, and look at it. More trios are coming in to sniff around, and that is Jasper and Lunev coming out from that little Kids Cantina to get into that match, but we still have more action happening out here, the Colossal Coliseum, and let's see if Bad Sniper could win this one right here, because Bad Sniper is just looking for it to take away some momentum from this day. Just to say, hey, this strategy works. Let's see what we can do. I mean, 8 points for the day is not what they were looking forward to. We saw that they were in in Salty Towers early in the day. As we see that Savages goes down in the feed. We saw them earlier in the day at Salty Towers. Now they're just looking for a drop shot home. Maybe gonna find an opportunity to say, at least we could build off of this, because right now the Salty Towers drops did not work for them at all.
Hey, there's a chance all across the board, right? Like Tayson kind of has the fate of Savage and iDrop in his hands. And at the same time, right now, Bad Sniper could get like a 26 elim win, right?
Right? Hey, you never know.
You know,
maybe.
It's possible to get, you know, from 8 points to a qual in the last game. I would say highly likely not, though. So let's not try to put all our chips on that table.
Well, yeah, you get high, you send beams down, 2 elims per point. The point is like they have time for next time around, the next qualifiers that happen. 100%. So you're gonna have a week to go into. All our competitors that could be competing this entire weekend to get here. So a lot of hours if people get to this point. So Bad Sniper is still in an elite EU trio alongside with Laxus and Tripper, but we all talked about it every given day. Sometimes it's just not your day. Sometimes a team's going to be at your drop spot. And a big point that we haven't really hit on, Shio, is that the top 10, they don't compete again. That's it. They're locked in. They're not going to come back. They're not going to be in another drop spot. So that might leave an opportunity for another trio to step in, or a trio that's already competed today to get into dance.
So then let's talk about the top 10 a little bit and what you guys should be watching for this game and after this game as well. Currently right now, if we tune into any trio, it could be Mirza, it could be Slove, it could be anyone around the map like Skyzoo as well, Pablo Wingu. If anyone is above around 35 points, 33 points, they have a chance if they win this game to hit the top 10. So 64 for Slove, they're actually tied for 10th and 11th against ETQ and Pablo Wingu and down. So these guys are actually on the brink of not being in top 10. They're trying to defend not only a tiebreaker and get ahead, but the rest of the lobby for hitting top 10. So definitely in contention. Past that as well, Sancho is 100% correct in saying the top 10 will not play next week. Look at the players who are coming 11th all the way to 20th. Those are the top trios to watch in the next week. What room they have to kind of take over the top 10. Obviously, you know, the next highest rank will be the best people to watch the next game. Peacock, Alpha, and Blaster always kind of, you know, going up against Savage. Don't have to actually take that fight this time in the mid game. 52 points, Sancho. They're only about 12 behind from the top 10.
And there's not a lot of weeks to kind of get into a top 10 situation. So that's why you got to be careful. That strategy of procrastinating your way in is a dangerous strat. And yeah, you might actually get booted down into that reboot round. That's going to be very chaotic and very crazy, where only the Victory Royale gets in. That's what's on the line going forward. And that's what we have in store for you, for all the people at home or wherever you're watching. Thank you for tuning in as That Sniper, hey, you started ramping up, right? He gets an elim. This might be already
25 more.
Lock it in. Lock it in, child.
That's what we like to see right now, though. Ooh, a crucial elimination for Slove, Mirza, and Sick. These guys now break the tiebreaker. 66 points overall. Still in 10th place. So need to do more and need to survive. Sancho, we saw Levin, Reese, and Zeke break down the format earlier as well. It's all about the placement end game that'll really give these guys points.
Yeah, and then in the end game, they did hold on to hype when we had that finish to Sweaty Sands. It just seemed like if they were able just to be a little bit more aggressive as a bounce pad, doesn't quite work out for them. But here we go, Shio.
Oh, at the same time, they're aggressive here too. The cool thing you mentioned about that hype play that they have in the previous game, just like right now, they play passively. They play to survive. If they're doing that this game, I guarantee they hold on to that top 10.
Ooh.
Unless a different team near them gets those beams down, unless something goes wrong. And Pusic and Toos are here now from the south side of Slippery Swamp all the way up north to Stealthy Stronghold. Slip around the S's a little bit, change the words up. At the same time, still, never mind, I'm completely wrong. We're in Weeping Woods. The trees confuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself, Sancho. Hold me back.
Lost in the woods, man. It happens all around. Is hey, you need a compass. You got to get that going forward.
You know what it is? It's just every team for some reason has been in Stealthy today. Why is that? Why throw it off for me, man? You know, I was having a good. It was good. We were perfect so far.
Yeah,
we're up there.
Sometimes you know, forest jungle's all the same. You know, it all kind of misses out the terrain. But what is interesting to see is now Deceptos goes down, and finally that passive team that you were talking about of Kinzel, the most consistent team that we've seen throughout the entire day, actually gets taken down by the Deal, Reason, and Noah Riley. Maybe they leave their PS postscript here to this letter that is madness that's been crazy throughout the entire day and says, hey, don't forget about us. We may not qual this time around, but we're going to put up a monster game to let the rest of the region know that we are still have a strong shot to be the FNCS Trio champion.
Absolutely. With 40 points, they definitely have a shot at it, but they're going to have to go for the win, not just aggressive play from the Deal side. It'll have to be smart after a certain point in the game, after a certain little time slot shifts over, and we're into that end-ish game atmosphere. Jaspe as well, Sancho, is on the edge.
It feels so interesting to see an actual threshold in a set lobby. We already watch leaderboards and all the third parties, as you see Snazzy actually getting a big hit on Mr. Savage right there. But the whole point I want to say is, like, it's like a living threshold that we're watching develop right in front of our eyes. That top 10 threshold as Sniper, dude, okay, he's there. He has 7. He lives. Okay, Shayo, you may. Yeah, I don't know what you did. I don't know what you did.
25 and a win, and they can qual. It will be the story that I think would be the coolest possible. But at the same time, I'll say for the third time, I don't think it's gonna happen. Even though we went from 0 to 7.
We're getting there.
I'm getting nervous. I'm getting a little bit nervous.
I don't. You might have to go out and get yourself a lotto ticket if that actually rings true, man. If that actually rings true. I mean, we have seen double-digit elims, victory royales here, and that is why Hen, Giannis, and Chapix are sitting on top of the board. But Bad Sniper is moving up the board, and now you're seeing another finish that's going to be around Salty Towers. The first match that we have here in this round 4 had a Salty Towers finish, but it went north. This time we're gonna get a lot of sandy fish. I got the flip-flops back on, I got the sunscreen back on, I got the Ray-Bans back on, and I'm here to see it. And let's see who. At the same time though, I really feel like a sand tunneling rotation could be, it's not the wave. I mean, I don't really like it.
It's not, yeah. No, because there's so much interruptions in the way, you know, in terms of like builds, different houses, streets, you can't really sand tunnel over.
Yes.
At the same time as well, we were just looked at that top 5. The top 5 right now are kind of in their own echelon of gameplay, kind of in their own wave and atmosphere of how they're approaching this game. They literally look like how they would look while they're playing grand finals. That's Hen's trio. We have Analex on there too, Kaizen, Lizen, and Wyzip, Snap, Miro, and then Kinzel as well. But I feel like we'll all qualify. We're going for a vacation in the sand, Sancho. They'll get a vacation straight over to what's it called? The heat stage as well, the semifinals. So
semifinals.
These guys will have a very good time there. They're looking really good in gameplay today. Big props to them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. First class all the way, and that's the kind of way you want to get into the semifinals. You don't want to be gifted through series points. You don't want to squeak your way through. But we have been seeing the players who do squeak their way through. Actually, our wild card round of Rojo's trio able to get to a top 10 finish in the FNCS. So hey, long as you get invited to the dance, you may have a good time. As Hen gets a nice sniper on Janice and Chapik. So now Hen is going to be cooking up. This is one of been a premier player in the EU region. A lot of people have been picking them a dark horse for a moment in time, but now he is no longer a dark horse. He is a front runner to take it all, and right now sitting on top of the board looking really good and finding himself a newly formed trio. I feel like Hen was one of those guys that jumped between different duos. He was kind of like a filler, and it looks like he may have found that home and a very solid trio going forward. But the action is still building up because this is the final round here as we see this trio of Great Demon Shakos trying to get the harpoon. But the lobby says not so fast, and the max pool is going to be dangerous for this entire side. And that means Nico's, Blastors, and Alpha's trio are going to be very dangerous for being lobby focused, but maybe Sen may save them right now, Shayo.
Absolutely. The big thing as well to note is that although all these guys might have their invites overall towards the next stage of the competition, everyone else right now who's below kind of 90 points is in trouble. They might not have a guaranteed slot held for them on the next stage of competition. It'll be very difficult. Even the top tier right now is getting pressured, Sancho. It'll be crazy to see who is ending up in the best spots for this end game. Right now, there's also just 2 trios kind of inside that safe circle as well. So we'll see how they move overall.
Yeah, and this is huge for Pablo's trio right now. They're on the outside. They were tied for that 10th place. They went into this match with 64 points. They're only getting 2 points, and they're going to run right into first place. So this is going to be a dangerous situation for this trio who are fighting for all they can to get into that top 10 already. Giannis's trio is already locked in. They are first place. But look at Pablo on the bottom of your screen making this sand rotation. You just see Downs right there run into that water. And when you run into that water, you get knocked out of the animation. And Downs and ETQ and Pablo are fighting for their top 10 lives for a moment because already there's so many trios that are right behind them. So Pablo, hold on, brother, as much as possible because it's going to come down to this right here, right now to survive that rotation. It looks like they did, Shio.
Absolutely, they did, but just by the skin of their teeth. Once again, these guys are the ones who were on that tiebreaker slot. Queasy, though, rolling in with Rax, so they're also looking in a little bit of trouble. Top 7 right now, 89 points up against 67 for Pablo Wingu, and now they've collided. Nothing's guaranteed for either trio so far.
I was going to say, Shao, they actually have front of zone right here, right now. So this is a good opportunity for them. They invested a little bit on this rotation. The sand tunneling did actually help preserve Matt. So if they want to, they could play for height, but at the same time, if you're going to play for height, you know you're going to be contested. And at this moment, if I were them, I'm not sure if you want to run that risk because it's placements that's going to get you in the top 10. As you already see a team right over them, they could kind of slow them down as now the zone 6 is moving. So here we go.
We're looking at a top 10 right on the bubble perspective. From Pablo, ETQ, and Downs. On height is Frey, who's 60 points away from being, or almost 50, from trying to qualify as well on maximum ultimate height. On the right, though, you see some of your top teams who will be punishing the rest of the players in the lobby. Snazy taking some action right back at him. Janice, though, looking so well on this rotation with Hen and Chapix. That player's name is Uguay74. We're looking at the rest of the zone, though, on the left side of your screen. Let's focus on the developments right now. Vidil, Reason, have height. The trio that were nowhere near being close to qualification, who just had 40 points, now have a chance to be in the top 10. Marine right below as well is not in the threshold. Bad Sniper is way far away from the threshold. Every name you're seeing on the left side is not guaranteed besides just a few select players. And they're all trying right now to survive the absolute onslaught in mid-ground. The top team's taken out, though. Frozen at 181 points. But they had such a good showing today. The question is, who are the other teams who are going to be inside the top 10?
Now, Hen, this is just for kind of making a statement here. Hen now is going to go solo, but we're all going to keep an eye on the leaderboard as much as possible. Keep an eye as ETQ does pick up an Elim in the feed. Noah and Reason and Vidil, they could make this crazy push, but because of these catacombs, they're not finding any of the same kind of beams that we saw other teams on height, like Hen was, racking in so many Elims. I'm looking around as much as possible to see ETQ and Pablo is down to still up. They're still looking good. They're on the outside, making a little outer rotation here to the front side of the zone. They're staying away from the center. That right side hold may be enough to get them as much as possible, but they have to watch out as Bad Sniper is in the focus of the beams as Wisep picks up Miro. Noah Riley, Vidil, they could do this, but they need to get Elims to match their placement that they will get.
They need to speed up fast right now. 56, I don't feel like it's enough. They're about 15 to 20 points behind. Unless they win this game, that might be the qualification for him. Wisep, though, already qualified 146 points. They really elevated him, and Kaizen are trying for a little mini victory lap, but the tires actually go flat on the track there for them. They're going to go down shortly. Noah Riley, Reason, and Vidil are still alive and online up in height. Kaizen is looking for the clutch. 5 Elims so far. He's pushing the rest of the top 10 down. They need to take him out. He's now frozen at 147. Okay, let's see. Noah Riley and Reason still on height. Vidil goes down for a few mats, reconnects, splits up as well. So these guys have extra resources to play their games. Wood builds down below Sancho. This is very good for beams. There they are. Noah Riley tapping heads like it's his day job, and it's time to get paid in points, hopefully. There we go. 68 points for Noah Riley. The Harpoon getting a few more mats. That Sniper's still alive, trying to make the dream happen. And Frey's there too. Every team we're watching right now is trying to qual. None of them have a guarantee in the top spot. The results will be from their actions in this last zone, Sancho West.
Absolutely, and Noah, Vidil, and Reason could punch their way in right here, right now, as they have another trio down below. And the big beams and big hits, the big shots. Vidil, Reason backing up with the beams, and Noah Riley is now going in right into the mess as much as possible. They have 70 points right now. Down goes Raze, who was in the 60s. Bad Sniper goes down. Noah Riley and Vidil, Reason are coming from the back of the pack to get themselves into that top 10 seed as much as possible. Now it's all about textbook, as Noah Riley going in with that tack attack. back, getting some big kicks, and Lex
Whoa!
said yes, the deal, Reason, and Noah Riley get the victory royale, and wow. I'm going to take a breath here for a second and congratulate the winners of the qualifier one here of Hen Jennison, Chapik 74 getting 189 points, 2 victory royales at 88 elims. But Shield, the story here, brother. The
A lot to
story
take
here,
in. A lot. Dennis and Chapik, these guys did go down a little bit earlier in that game, but they had such a good display of a game, of Fortnite in general for EU the entire time. One of the most calculated trios on the field. Still also for Game 6. Big shout outs to that final trio of Vidil, Noah Riley, and Reason. I think that was a clutch. That was a performance from about 30 points, Sancho, all the way to a top. I think the best way to wrap out EU.
Absolutely. I mean, they were on the outside looking in. The threshold, so to speak, was at 64 points, and they vaulted themselves up into the 70s. But let's see if that was enough, because we did have the A7, 8, and 9 around that point. But man, what a great opening broadcast for us here, Shio. It's been an awesome here, and we're gonna go ahead and take a break here for a little bit, about a week so. But hey, the action's still going here in the broadcast. Let's go ahead and kick it to the analyst desk to help us out with that leaderboard shakedown. Who got in, fellas? Who got in? Let us know.
Don't you even worry about it, Sancho. We got you covered. We'll take a look at the standings in just a moment. But once again, congratulations to the winningest trio, Hen. You know, we didn't, Janice, Chapik, we knew. You know, from moment one, we knew. And a massive congrats and thanks to, of course, Sancho and ShyWager for their time. Fantastic casters. Make sure you guys go follow them and give them some love. Now, gentlemen, the day as a whole was crazier than I think we've seen in a little while. A lot more aggressive than what we're used to. Granted, EU is pretty aggressive already, but this was just taken to a whole other level.
Yeah, and you know, that format change definitely was causing such more of this aggression overall. And you know, in that last game right there, we saw a ton of aggression overall because some of these teams need to qualify, you know what? And even getting that victory royale, potentially not even enough alone just to qualify some of these teams. So they said, you know what, we're going to get these eliminations early game. We are top level fighters. We are going to pick up the placement. We're going to pick up the eliminations at the same time. And has it been enough? We're going to see.
Yeah, I think we've ultimately seen, like Z said, you know, some very aggressive stuff, to say the least. I think when you actually look though at the ramifications of today's games, man, seeing Janice, Chapik, and Hen make it in first place, that's going to be a huge boost for them. I think we underrate, even with how successful they've been, we underrate the fact that they are a newer trio, right? You know, this is a newly formed trio. Just having that momentum on your side, knowing that even amongst trios who are maybe a bit more established than us, we are still out here dominating. And I think it's going to be a great boost to see them just be able to chill until the semifinals.
Yeah, and what's great about that trio actually is the fact that all of them really can kind of adapt under any circumstance. Let's take a look at Hen for a second here. He used to play on pretty poor ping because he had pretty bad internet issues, and I think because of this, he's molded himself to be able to play pretty slowly on this kind of high ping situation, because we notice this by all the cash cups, the DreamHack performances he plays on other servers, and he still performs. He's won 2 cash cups on another server. Take this here, he's good in solos, duos, and trios, and combine this with Chapik, who has pretty much the exact same accolades, and an ex-FNCS champion of Janice. What a combo. And let's be real, they came first because of it.
And you know what's great about it, on top of the fact that, you know, they are just these amazing players on form as well, right? Hen, with the achievements he's put up, you know, questions about whether he is, you know, the best player in the world at the moment. You know, you look at who comes below them, Andalex, Snazy, and Exqueeze right below them, right? This is the trio that they took from. You know, Janice was playing with Andalex and Exqueeze before. He's now left and are right behind them there. A couple points behind, but still just right behind them, his former trio, putting in some good work as well.
Yeah, very impressive. And, you know, Hen, Chapik's, and Janice's average placement was 5.5 across 6 games, which is incredible. That's the best across any of the regions that we've seen, tied with Wildhawk trios from Asia so far in these round 4. So incredible performance from them. And, you know, a lot of these other teams here can't go missed either. We saw in 4th place, Snap, Miro, and Swag. A great example of heal off in game 5. Miro with what seems like the most amount of white heals I've ever seen in an inventory in my life.
Yeah, outrageous stuff from these guys. I talked about the top of the show, right? Mexi, Michael, and Verox. This was a big week for them. Their biggest rivals at Dirty Docs, Thomas and Nass and Flick, didn't make it through to this round 4. And so this is a chance to qualify through your POI uncontested, right? Somewhat, I wouldn't say easy, right? Because they, had their struggles here and there, but they were able to make their way in top 10, down to ETQ and Pablo Winga. I talked about going into that last game. You're on 11th. You need to have a huge game. And I can't believe it. Vidil, Noah Riley, and Reason from out the mud, from out the gutter, pulling out a performance from the highest draw, the top draw. I cannot believe that with that last game, they secured their qualification. How?
Absolutely. Honestly, if one team was going to do it, who is going to drop double-digit eliminations and a victory royale? It's going to be Vidil, it's going to be Norali, and it's going to be Rezon. And they absolutely popped off on this final day. Very, very impressive from them. I'm overly impressed. But something we didn't actually quite see there was Laxus and Bad Sniper's team. Now, they only ended up coming 17th, but they actually, in that last game, were second with 15 eliminations. So their first 5 games, unfortunately, not going so well. But in that last game, they put every single bit of effort in that they could, but it unfortunately just wasn't quite enough.
And I like that you highlighted that, Reese, because, they had a slow start. At the end, they sort of pick things up, right? Get back to the drawing board. You have next week. There's still 2 more qualifiers, right? They can look back, see where things sort of went wrong, how they can adapt, how they can improve. And I look to try bring the performance from that last game into the next coming games, assuming they can make it through round 1, round 2, round 3, right?
A lot of learnings to be had here from just the first week of qualifiers, especially coming out of Europe. Don't forget, we got NA East, we got NA West, we got 2 more rounds of opens. There's still plenty of Fortnite to be had. We hope you guys have enjoyed the broadcast. Gentlemen, final thoughts before we say goodbye. Restarting with you.
Amazing. Day 1 was kind of fantastic through Qualifier 1. Next week and the week after, interested to see kind of some of these teams that have already qualified. We're not going to be seeing them. So new names, new faces coming in the next 2 qualifier weeks. And then we get into the semi-finals and finals after that, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, I think for me, right, if you've made your way into that top 10, you've qualified, sit back, relax, enjoy. But for the people who didn't even make it to round 4, right, you have next week. It can be a grueling, time trying to make it through round 1, 2, 3, and 4. But it's definitely possible. And so, get back to the drawing board, work hard, figure out what's going wrong, and try and adapt and improve.
We'll have to see, man. We got a lot more Fortnite in the future. But of course, Fortnite fam, don't forget, we're going to take a break and then jump on over to NAE. So if you want more Fortnite action, be sure to stick around. And if not, enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day. Hope you've had a great time. And till then, Fortnite fam, we'll be back next week for Europe. Same time, same place, same great faces. Till then, we'll see you guys on the Battle Bus.